hopefully we are ready to rock and roll on with Module 2, which is all about creating your product. Now again, I'm going to kind of deliver the main part of this presentation as usual, teaching the kind of product creation methods that I have used in my business to create the majority of my products, and also a lot of my students have used to successfully create products too. And then as we go through, I know that Jonathan has a lot of insight into the various methods that he has used for creating products, and I'm going to let him kind of jump in where he feels it's necessary, or maybe come in at the end and talk about his kind of side of things then too. So with all of that, let's kind of review kind of what we've done so far and where we're going to be heading from this moment forth. So up until now, in the last module, you should have hopefully chosen the niche or the niche that you're going to use for your first product, or what I'd like to call your first campaign. The second thing you've chosen is a name for that, so some kind of catchy branding or name for the product. Hopefully you've also purchased a domain name for that product, which would preferably be something like yourproductname.com, and also some web hosting for your business too. If you don't already have web hosting and you don't want to buy it from somewhere else, we are obviously giving you 12 months of completely free, unlimited web hosting. So just to kind of review that from our perspective, as mentioned towards the beginning of this program, Jonathan and I are actually going through this entire process kind of alongside you, if you like. Everything that we ask you to do, we are doing right now behind the scenes, so that we can kind of show you our progress as we go along. So what we have done is we have come up with the idea of doing a stop smoking product, which we've mentioned a few times, basically because we haven't done this system with a quit smoking product yet. So we're going to do a quit smoking product. That's going to be the niche for that particular thing. We sat down and brainstormed various names, or at least I kind of came up with one that I liked, and we're going to stick with that. It's actually called the Simple Quitting System. You may remember last week we were talking about weight loss products. I kind of gave you the idea of something like the Simple Slimming System. Well, I liked the idea, and it stuck with me, so I decided to change it to the Simple Quitting System. So what we then did was went ahead and bought the domain name for that particular product, which would obviously be simplequittingsystem.com. So right now there's nothing on that domain. It's just a domain that I now own, but we haven't done anything with it. We've just bought it. And obviously we already have some web hosting, but you can have that set up for you just by emailing me at robert@elitehypnosisbootcamp.com. Okay, robert@elitehypnosisbootcamp.com. So Jonathan and I have been pretty busy over the last week thinking of ideas and names and stuff like that. So we've done all of that. Hopefully you have done the majority of it too. Again, if you're waiting on the recordings of the last week's module, they will be supplied within the next 24 hours. So hopefully you've done the majority of that, at least the kind of the non-technical side, sort of brainstorming niches and names and all of that kind of thing. Now, moving on to look at what we're going to be talking about in this module, in today's webinar. Really, the next step of this process is to actually make the digital information product, which is going to deliver something of value to our customers. So you're going to obviously base this on the niche which you selected in the previous module. So obviously some of you will have come up with, maybe insomnia or weight loss or smoking too, or phobias or confidence or stress or depression, or any of the things that you can help people with hypnosis, or with your psychic skills, or with anything like that, NLP. So hopefully you've come up with that niche, and now you're going to make a product around that particular niche. Again, that's what we're going to talk about in this module. So with that in mind, you really need to consider the end goal of your potential customers. You need to think about what they want to achieve as a result of using your product. And you'll be pleased to know that you can put all of your tools away, your hammers, your chisels, and all the rest of it. Making downloadable products is very fast, very simple, very efficient. In fact, you can make a product very easily within a day. You can make a product within an hour using the techniques that we're going to tell you, and that product will be great, very, very good, and will really help people to change their lives. So that's what we're going to talk about in this module. Jonathan and I have already gone through and kind of planned out the product that we're going to create for the Simple Quitting System. Although we haven't actually made it yet, we'll be doing that this week, and I can show you, how we've designed that product as we go through this training. You'll be pleased to know there were a lot of people after the last webinar said, oh, well, you know, we love all of the in-depth information, but at the same time, some people were concerned that maybe, you know, there was a lot too much information and, you know, all the rest of it. So what we've done is we've kept this webinar intentionally quite short. So it should be kind of done with the main training kind of within the hour, and then obviously we can move on to answering your questions and brainstorming your products and your ideas specifically. So we're going to talk about making a product. So the first thing we really need to talk about is what kind of products are there. So again, we're talking about downloadable products, information products, if you like, which will be help your end user, your customer, to achieve whatever their desired outcome is. And really, these are the kind of the main products that we work with in our business. There are audio products, in other words, products that people listen to. There are ebook products, in other words, products that people can read. There are video products, so kind of informational things that people can watch. There are webinar products. Obviously, right now you're listening to a webinar, so we're teaching you things via this webinar. And also there are what I call combo products. These are combinations of the above. So we're really going to break down each of those step by step in a moment and talk about the exact process that you could use in order to make each of those products. Although you'll be surprised by how distinctly similar they actually all are when you break it down to its kind of bare bones. So the product creation process is really a pretty simple 6-step thing which will apply to all of those different types of products. It pretty much applies, in fairness, to any product anywhere in the world, from cars to houses to anything. But this is kind of, I put this together specifically as the process that I guide people through when it comes to creating products. And basically it goes as follows. Research, and then design, then development, then creation, then effectively proofreading, but I'll call it checking for errors, you'll find out why in a second, and then publishing. So we're going to break each of those down now step by step, and I'll kind of talk you through what I mean by each one. So the first thing is kind of research. Now that sounds scary, it sounds time consuming, it sounds like it's going to take forever, but genuinely it's kind of not. By research, what we mean is finding out exactly what it is that your customers want to achieve. Now, you might say, well, I already know that. So you might think, well, I'm going into the confidence niche, so my customers want to know about how to be more confident. And okay, fair enough. To its basic level, that is kind of what that consists of. But you should really try and find out exactly what people are looking to achieve as a result of being more confident. What aspects of their life are they really genuinely interested in improving as a result of becoming more confident? Or if somebody wants to lose weight, is there a specific core reason, if you like, why they want to lose weight? Is it purely for health reasons? Is it because they want to run the London Marathon next year? Is it, you know, what is the pure reason? What is their motivation, if you like, for wanting to achieve that end result? Now, fortunately, this kind of research process is actually pretty simple. There's kind of a few things you can do. The first thing you can do is to speak to people who actually need this end result. So, for example, every time the phone rings in your office to book a hypnotherapy session or to come and see you for a one-on-one consultation or whatever, you can actually ask that person, you know, just do a little digging, ask them some questions, kind of do a kind of one-on-one phone survey, if you like. Just ask them a few basic questions. What is your end result? Picture yourself having achieved your goal. Picture yourself being more confident. What would you do different to what you're doing now? Or picture yourself if you've lost 30 stone. What would you do in that scenario that's different to what you're doing right now? So ask them some kind of searching questions. Ask them to give you a little bit more of themselves. Ask them to provide you with some kind of information as to the reasons and the kind of the hot points within that niche. So what is it specifically that they want to achieve? Now, one of my clients in our sort of hypnosis training business, if you like, did this very recently. I recently got paid by a marketer to create some hypnosis MP3s on different topics. One of them was to feel more energetic and youthful. One of them was to be more persuasive and good at sales. And one of them was all about the law of attraction and improving their ability to attract wealth and prosperity, etc. So what happened was, before he employed me to create those MP3s, And we do offer that service, by the way, if anybody was really, really desperately didn't want to go and record their own MP3s or do anything like that. If you're looking to make a hypnosis product, you can come to us and we can kind of do all of that for you, and we'll, just get in touch if that is something you're interested in. But this guy came to me, he's no hypnosis background particularly, he's just a marketer, he's putting together products on those 3 topics, and he wanted a hypnosis MP3 featuring me to go as the heart of that product, because he knows that I've got a reputation as a hypnotist, etc. So he came to me, and before just giving me those 3 topics, he didn't just give me those 3 topics and say, can you make an MP3 about this, this, and this? He actually did a survey to all of his kind of potential customers. Now, he actually has already built a big email list of people in that marketplace, but you really don't have to have done that. If you have got Facebook or Twitter, if you've got any reach with people, even if you just interact with people out and about on a daily basis, you can kind of use this in an informal way to find out what they want. And he sent me some really, I had to sign a non-disclosure agreement first, but he sent me some really in-depth survey results from his customers to find out exactly what they wanted to achieve as a result of using these kind of MP3s. So this is a really good way to really find out what sort of things you want to be including in your product, what sort of imagery you want to use in your product, and all that kind of thing. So it's definitely worth, everywhere you go, if you ever meet anybody that's interested in your particular thing, like how many times are you out and about at a party or events or in the street and you get talking to someone, and when they say, what do you do? And you say, oh, I'm a hypnotist. They say, oh, can you help me quit smoking? How many times do you get that? It's got to be pretty regular, hasn't it? So with that kind of attitude to it, if you were then to say, okay, and I always do this anyway, I always ask them some simple questions like, well, how many cigarettes do you smoke? How long have you smoked for? Those kind of questions. But you could always go a little bit more in depth with that and ask them for even more information, very, very simply indeed. So I do recommend doing some kind of research. There's kind of no hard and fast rules about what you should ask or how you should ask it. You really just need to find out exactly what people want to achieve as a result of using your service or your product. The other cool thing, just jumping slightly ahead, about doing this kind of research and asking for people's opinions, and I kind of mentioned this briefly last week, is that really by doing this research, that will also form part of the marketing for your product. Once you get people's interest and tell them that you are making this kind of product, once you tell people that you are actually working on something very special like this, that will actually really, really help you to begin selling the product once it's ready to rock and roll. So if you start telling people you're going to make a product that will help people to quit smoking, if you start telling people you're going to make a product that will help people to lose weight and ask them for their opinions, then they will feel that they are part of the process, that they are part of the creation of that product. It even gets to a point where they will feel emotionally attached to the end result of that product because they gave you some kind of personal information, if you like, about their desires, their goals, their ambitions, their motivation, that kind of thing. And they will be very, very likely to buy that product at a later date. So if you've got a large following on Facebook, for example, several thousand friends, or on Twitter, several thousand followers, if you were to post, working on a product, working on something very cool to help people lose weight, obviously you can word it better than this, working on something very cool to help people lose weight, if you could if you'd like to lose weight, blah, 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 tell me what your key motivations are to help you lose weight. Leave a comment on this Facebook post or reply to me on Twitter, whatever. Tell me what your motivation is in order to quit smoking or lose weight or get more confident or whatever. And one lucky person will win a free copy of the product when it goes live. And now what you're going to end up with is a string of people who will basically comment on that or reply to you via email if you do it that way, or tweet at you, whatever, saying why they want your help, and therefore telling you that they actually want your help, and really powerfully pre-selling themselves into the idea of using your system. It also creates massive social proof. to the rest of the world if you appear to have a string of even a dozen or 2 dozen, but preferably more, but even a dozen or 2 dozen people replying to you and telling you all the reasons why your product would help them to change their lives. And they're almost asking you to create that product at the end of the process. It's a really, really powerful technique from a marketing perspective to actually make people almost believe that they have requested that you make this product. So you can always say, post on this Facebook post, let me know why, how this product would help you, let me know why you want this product, blah, 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 and one lucky person will win a free copy of it. And then at the end of it, you can just pick one at random and announce who the winner is. And again, it builds it into a really cool, awesome kind of marketing pre-launch, if you like. So that's another cool reason for doing some very basic but very important research that will help you throughout the product creation process. And do pay attention to the results you get as well. Make a note of everything that everybody says and really pay attention to that. So that's the kind of the research step out of the way. The next step of the process is what I call the design process. And again, you'll see how each of these elements fit into the actual process for ebooks, video products, audio products, all that kind of thing in a few moments' time. So again, I recommend that you kind of design the product before you go ahead and make it. So I actually recommend using mind maps. I'm a huge fan of using mind maps when it comes to developing ideas, concepts, and products. There is a really cool piece of free mind mapping software which is kind of browser based, so you don't need to download anything to your computer, you can just do it online. It's called mindmeister.com, that's MINDMEISTER.com. There's also an app for iPad, which is what I use, MindMeister app in the iPad, in the App Store. It's completely free to download, and it's a great, really, really cool piece of mind mapping software. Now, basically, the other cool thing is that if you make a mind map on your iPad, it will be available in your MindMeister account online. Same thing goes if you make it online, it will be available on the iPad or the iPhone. And I really recommend that you mind map the product from a perspective of what you want to put into it. So you would break the individual topic down into individual sections, and you would break that individual section down into individual themes or topics or threads, if you like, and then you can elaborate on each one as you begin to make the product. So, for example, this particular module, or all of these Passive Hypnosis Profits modules, I mind mapped before making the slide presentation. And it means that I wasn't sitting down with a blank slide presentation in PowerPoint or whatever and going through and just aimlessly going away and trying to make it all work. I was actually structured, it was all structured and working cool. Just quickly, Buck says that my audio's gone off a couple of times. I just wanted to check that everyone else can still hear me. Everything appears to be okay at this end. If you could go ahead and type yes into the questions box if you can hear me. Buck says it's back on. Did it drop out for everybody, or was that just for... Okay, cool. Everyone else seems to be able to hear. That's cool. Okay, hopefully that will hold out, Buck. It could be your internet dropping or anything, but we'll wait and see. Everyone else says it didn't drop off. Okay, good. So from a design point of view, oh, and Keith says drops out as well. All right, okay, I will hopefully try and stop that from happening again. Obviously the recording will have my voice in it regardless, so you will still be able to hear me from the recording of this in the members area. So I recommend that you mind map everything that you do, because it means you're not aimlessly just sort of driving towards nowhere. You need to kind of know where you're heading. So if I just sat down with a blank PowerPoint presentation and had no real direction of where I was going to go with this presentation, then it would just go on and on and on and rambling, and I'd be jumping back and forth all of the time. But because I mind mapped it and broke it all down, that kind of made it very, very simple for me then to then take and actually turn into a real product. The next step, of course, is the development. So this is where you start to actually put things in place from the perspective of creating the product. Again, I'm going to talk more about that in detail in just a moment. The next step is the creation of the product. Quite obviously, this is where you would then go through and actually make the product itself. The next step is obviously to go through and check for errors, proofread it. The reason I didn't put proofreading is because obviously if you're a video product or an audio product, you're not strictly proofreading, are you? But you might be proof listening or proof watching. And basically remove any errors, edit out anything that is wrong, correct any spelling errors. If it's an audio, then go through and edit out the bits where you and ah unnecessarily or pause for too long, etc. And finally, you publish the product. Now, obviously, the type of publishing you do, and by the way, I'm still talking about digital publishing, although you can make physical products if you wish, but we're going to talk about that completely separately. Publishing is obviously just making the file into a watchable, readable, or listenable file for your prospective customers. So if it's a book, you'd make it into a PDF document. If it's a video, then you would make it into a video file. If it's an audio, you'd make it into an MP3 so that people would actually be able to listen or watch or read that product very, very easily. So that's the kind of the basic 6-step product creation process that I always go through, and I tell my students to go through as well. Now, I want to look at that process from the point of view of each of the main 3 types of products that I would recommend that you work with. We're not including webinar products in this because, effectively, I'll explain why as we go through, because you'll still, at the end of this, you will still understand how to do a webinar product. You just probably will choose not to. So, part 1 is an audio product. Well, the first thing you would need to do is to script your audio training product. Now, I've said training product, but I'm aware it may not actually be a training product. If it's a Hypnosis MP3, that's not strictly a training product, although you are training their brain. But just really to keep this as generic as possible, because you could be making a theoretical kind of audio product where you're just teaching theory or teaching information, so that would still be relevant. So scripting your audio training product. Now, really, this sounds kind of like it would be really hard work or really difficult, but typically it's not. You basically just need to open any form of word processing software, something like Microsoft Word, or I recommend OpenOffice, which I'll talk more about in a moment. Any kind of word processing software where you can simply type. And basically, you're then going to just script out exactly what you would say in the process of creating this product. Now, there's a couple of ways you can do this. Just for the sake of example, we're going to stick with hypnotherapists and hypnotherapy products. So with regard to hypnotherapy products, obviously, you will, if you're a full-time hypnotherapist or a part-time hypnotherapist, you're probably doing these audio sessions all the time just for your clients live. So you probably kind of already have a script. That script may already be in your mind. It may just be something you know, or you can instinctively just kind of not wing, but you've done it so often it's become second nature, and you may not have a script. So there'll be 2 options. You'll either have a script that you can just read, or you won't have a script, but you'll know it in your mind. If you're new to this and you've never done hypnotherapy before, or you don't know about what you're teaching well enough to just kind of do that, then what you would obviously need to do is to sit down and spend a little bit of time writing out exactly what you would need to teach or say or do on the audio in order to have that end result, that script. Now, if you do have a script already, that's great, although it will need a little bit of tweaking in order to make it suitable as an audio product. So, for example, if you're used to doing one-on-one hypnotherapy sessions, then you won't have the beginning or the end that you would need for an audio product. For example, I would always begin my audio products by saying something like, "Hello, this is Robert Temple, and congratulations on making the fantastic investment in this name of product. I know you're really going to enjoy this product, and it's going to help you to achieve X, Y, Z whilst avoiding A, B, C." So I'd kind of give it an introduction that you probably wouldn't do, because that would be a little bit creepy if you had a client in the room and you sat down and said, "Now, welcome and thank you for your investment in yourself," and blah, 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 blah. So you probably do make those kind of statements, but you wouldn't do them in such an overt manner. So you will need to obviously add that to the beginning of the product and the end of the product too, where you would say something like, "Once again, thank you for purchasing product XYZ, and I wish you the very best of luck." Again, something you're probably not going to say if you have a client right in front of you. So you'll need to kind of edit it to make it suitable as an audio training product, something that can be taken away and listened to in the comfort of their own home and the privacy of their own surroundings, so rather than your kind of hypnotherapy office. So that's the kind of the first thing. Now, if you don't already have a written script on your computer that you can just use for this, the alternative to, of course, is to that you've got it in your mind. So what I recommend that you do there is that you actually take the recording and take this the kind of the session and actually just record it to your microphone. So actually just set up your microphone, which we're going to talk about in just a sec, and record the entire session. Now chances are it won't be perfect the first time around, because it's probably, again, and it will probably come down to the fact that you are used to doing it with a client that is there right in front of you. You're used to presenting this session to someone who's actually in the room with you, which means that it won't be perfectly scripted for the bits that you have to add in. Again, the bits about hello and thank you for purchasing, blah, 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 blah. So again, you'll probably want to actually take the main main audio session that you record. Now, if it sounds great by itself, if you've actually done a really good job of it the first time around, then obviously what you might then just want to do is to separately script and record the beginning and the end, so what I call the top and the tail. So you might want to specifically script the hello and thank you, blah, 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 and add that onto the beginning, and then script and record the thank you for purchasing this product and I wish you, and add that onto the very end. Now, if, however, the audio isn't great, because, again, in the therapy room, it doesn't have to be perfect. It has to be good, but it doesn't, ums and ahs don't matter too much. If you hesitate or if you have to stop to think for a second, that's not too important. But I try and get rid of that when it comes to an actual MP3 audio product. So in that environment, what I would typically do is to, again, record through the script as you know it in your head, but then have that transcribed, which you can have done very, very cheaply. You can actually outsource that for next to nothing, and then you will end up with effectively your script of that entire audio session minus the ums, the ahs, the unnecessary pauses, and then you will have the perfect script when it comes to recording the perfect audio product. So if you do have it in your head already, but recording it straight through doesn't quite sound right, or it doesn't sound slick, or it doesn't sound perfect, then I recommend having that transcribed, because anyone who does transcripts or anything like that worth their salt will obviously leave out the ums and the ahs, and it'll make it a lot more slick. And then you can go through and go ahead and just record that as you would if you'd written the script out. So that's the kind of the scripting process, if you like. The next thing you're going to need is to get hold of a microphone. Now, there's really two options here. You can either buy your own microphone, or you can find a cheap studio to hire. Now, personally, I recommend buying your own microphone if you can afford it, because obviously it will pay for itself over time. If you have to hire a studio every time, although you can do that very cheaply, which again we'll touch on in a second, although you can do that very, 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 very cheaply, you would obviously the microphone is a one-off cost, and once you've got it you can record forever rather than having to pay to hire that studio every time. Alternatively, you could hire the studio to make your first product, and once you've made some money back you could then go and buy your own microphone. Now, I actually spent almost £1,000, £1,000 sterling, actually getting a really expensive microphone, a studio radio microphone with really expensive editing equipment and all the rest of it, and I don't use it. It's clipped to my desk and I just don't use it. Instead, I use, because it's just a little bit too faffy, a little bit too techy, instead I use a microphone which is made by a company called Blue, and it's called the Yeti microphone. The Yeti microphone, made by a company called Blue. I paid around about £110 for this microphone, so it's not extortionate, it's not a kind of ridiculous price, but it's kind of the minimum level microphone I'd recommend for recording a high quality audio product. You can do it with a cheap headset, but you'll tend to get lots of buzz and hum, and it just doesn't have the same perceived value. So if you can afford it, I recommend buying the Yeti microphone by Blue. They have a slightly cheaper alternative called the Snowball microphone. I believe that's around about £80. Again, this is obviously at the time of presenting this webinar. If you're listening to the recording in 5 years' time, that may all have changed. But right now it's around about £80. And again, that's a really great microphone. It's made by a company called Blue. They are American, so they ship worldwide. You can buy them from Apple shops. You can buy them from any good technology supplier. Of course, just Google it on the internet and you'll be able to find them. You can get them on Amazon too. And so that's kind of slightly cheaper, although it's not quite as good. But the Snowball and the Yeti microphone are really the kind of minimum level I would recommend in terms of microphone quality when it comes to recording these kind of products. Alternatively, if you can't afford to invest the £80 or £120 or something around that level of investment, then for your first few products you can go out and for as much as, kind of less than $50 definitely, but probably less than $20. I know I've done it for £15 an hour. You can hire a really cheap recording studio, you just have to Google, recording studio London or recording studio Manchester or recording studio New York or Sydney or wherever you are in the world, and you'll be able to find local recording studios. Now, obviously, we're not talking about Sony's recording studio. We're talking about small independent studios that that are hired by singers and bands and musicians to record their songs. And obviously, you can get those very, very cheap, particularly as we talked about in the original Passive Hypnosis Profits webinar. You can get them even cheaper if you're willing to kind of use their dead time, use the time that they're not typically letting out. So if you're happy to go at 3 in the morning and they're happy to let you for a cheaper price, then go and do that. So again, you can really do this very, very cheap. And also what you'll end up with if you do use a studio is, of course, that they will just give you a CD with your voice on it at the end, and you can then just go away, take it home, and that's your your vocals ready to go, and then you can just add the audio underneath, which I'll talk about in just a second. So again, I really recommend that you use your own microphone if you can, but if not, you can use a proper professional recording studio very cheap, which also means that you can mention in the sales material, this is professionally studio recorded. And that's a really cool kind of bite for people. Oh, this is a really high quality product, it's been professionally recorded. Having said that, there'll be very few people that will know the difference between that and something that's recorded on the Yeti microphone, because it is great quality. So that's that. Once you have actually got your microphone or found a studio that you can use, the next thing you'll need is to get some kind of free audio recording and editing software. Now, I recommend something called Audacity, which, as you can see on the screen there, is spelled A-U-D-A-C-I-T-Y, Audacity. It's made by a company, I think they're called SourceForge or SourceForge. Well, I want a SourceForge, it must be. If you Google Audacity, you'll be able to find the free download for that. It's available for both PC and for Mac, and it's a really good piece of software. It kind of almost industry standard. It does everything you would want from an industry standard expensive piece of Adobe software, but it's completely open source, it's completely free. Now basically, if you are recording your product in a recording studio, then obviously you will not need to use this to record the software, because they will you'll not need to use this to record the audio. They'll just give you your CD with your audio on it, and you can take that home, but you will need it to add the music to your audio product. With regards to if you're using your own microphone, then obviously you will use this to record, and it's so easy to do. You literally open the software, you plug in your microphone, and you hit a round button that is a typical kind of record button, just a red round circle, and you hit that and it will say it's recording, and when you talk you'll actually see obviously the sound waves, if that's what they are effectively, showing you how loud you're talking, etc. Now obviously I recommend that you kind of test it a few times. Just talk for 2 minutes, just talk random waffle, testing, 1, 2, 3, welcome, thank you for purchasing, 1, 2, 3, and sleep, relax, sinking and drifting and relaxing, and try different volumes and different voice tones. So you can try a nice relaxing tone, or a big, energetic, enthusiastic, cheesy tone. So you can try different tones and things, and then listen back to it. And you'll kind of be able to hear, for example, if I come right up close to my microphone now, it's going to sound really, really bad. Hopefully that will prove my point. I've leaned right into my microphone and it will sound quite kind of too loud and too choppy.
Sounds a lot better, actually, to be totally honest.
It sounded what?
To be honest, it sounded a lot better.
Oh, did it? All right, brilliant.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Typically, obviously, in a recording piece of software, if you lean in too close to the microphone, it will go very bitty and very like it'll chop the ends off each word that what you say. It'll just sound rubbish. Whereas at the same time, obviously, if you sat on the other side of the room, it's going to be too quiet. So you need to kind of work out roughly where your head needs to be in relation to the microphone. Now, yes, you can edit that afterwards by playing around with volumes and stuff, but it's a real pain. So you are much, much better to actually just kind of work out roughly where your head needs to be and how loud or how quietly you need to talk, how over-enthusiastic you need to be or under-enthusiastic you need to be in order to get a nice, straightforward sound that's not going to be too uppy and downy. So again, it's worth just recording a few minutes of audio just to make sure that everything's fine. Once you've got that ready to go, again, if you're recording at home or at a studio, you then need to record through your script, basically just presenting the hypnotherapy session or the whatever session you're doing to the microphone just as if that microphone was a client sat there in front of you. Initially, this can be quite difficult to do. You need to kind of really just genuinely just get on with it, because you will find that you'll get halfway through, and I do it all the time. You'll get 10 minutes in, and then you'll just go, you'll trip over a word somewhere, and then that'll really throw you. And I typically, pardon the language, I typically kind of go, oh bollocks, and I'll start again. And anyone who's, I know when I'm recording here, and Rachel, my girlfriend's downstairs, she'll always just sort of shout at me, "You'll get there eventually," because I end up just sort of tripping over words and things. Now, obviously, with a client, that won't happen. I hope it doesn't happen. It probably doesn't happen very often. Obviously, with this, if it does, then you can just go through and kind of edit that out if you like, and it just makes it sound a little bit more smooth. So I recommend that you, again, you just need to put yourself in the position of imagining that your microphone is a client and actually just going through the session like you would with any client, and that's really pretty simple. Obviously, one of the major differences is that if throughout your session you are looking for specific responses from your client. So, for example, obviously I know that a lot of people, when presenting the hypnotherapy the induction, just after they've done the induction and after they've deepened trance and after they've done a kind of major post-hypnotic, they will say kind of, if you can hear my voice and if my suggestions are going into the center of your subconscious mind, just allow your finger on your left hand to rise gently into the air to demonstrate this, etc. Or you ask them for some kind of, or to nod your head. Obviously, if it's nodding your head or something like that, you can take it out. Because you're not really there to, if it's something that genuinely strengthens things, that's fine. But if it's something where you're, nodding your head is a little bit more abstract, you're not there to kind of verify that that's happening, etc., etc., etc. It's a little odd. I tend to just take that kind of thing out, unless it's genuinely there to as a kind of a deepening technique by itself. So again, you just need to think a little bit logically about this and think that people aren't going to be there in the room with you when, or rather, you're not going to be there in the room with them when you're listening to this. Once you end up with that, you will then want to add in some kind of music behind it. Now, basically, in Audacity or any other kind of audio recording and editing software, you will record things in what they call tracks. Now, by track, typically we think of a CD will have a number of tracks, and each song, if you buy an album, will be on a different track. That's not what we're talking about here. In this perspective, we're talking about one solid file of audio, but you can have different tracks or different layers on it. So one layer will have your voice on it, but at the same time, a different layer will have the music on it. And what that means is then that you can have the music at you can play around with the music and the effects of the music independently from your voice. So you can actually make the music very loud, make it very quiet. If you wanted to put a specific effect over the music, you can. Or if you wanted to put a specific effect over your voice, then you can. And again, that won't affect the music. But obviously, when you then export this file at the end of it all, it will just be one audio file that will be uneditable to anybody but you, and will be fine. So what I recommend doing is you'll need to find some kind of royalty-free type music that you can use, something relaxing, some kind of typical hypnotherapy type music. Now, it may be that the music you're using right now in your hypnotherapy sessions is already royalty-free. In other words, you're not going to get sued for using it. So if it's released on CD and it's not royalty-free, then you can't obviously use this as part of your audio product without getting written permission, which can be a real pain. So you need to kind of look for royalty-free music, which typically you can do on Google. If you actually just Google for royalty-free music, you can get it very, very cheap. You can get it for free. The one that I've been using a lot is recorded by a guy called Kevin MacLeod. That's K-E-V-I-N, and MacLeod, M-A-C, okay, L-E-O-D. M-A, it's got an A in it, unlike typical MacLeod. M-A-C L-E-O-D, and he is a music composer, and basically he's got hundreds of different tracks on there. Now, typically, most of them are no use to us unless you're looking for some kind of upbeat, up-tempo music that can go behind your introduction or your outro for this. But in terms of kind of relaxing hypnotherapy tracks, there are a couple on there on his website that are absolutely brilliant. It's completely free to use. If you want to make a donation, you can. The only restriction on that is that he does like to have anywhere on your packaging, on mine or on your advertising. On mine, it's on a spare page on the website. Basically, there's a disclaimer at the bottom of my website, which we're going to be talking to you about next week, and I have a contact link and I have a credits link, and if you click on that credits link, it takes you to a page which says Music by Kevin MacLeod. Basically, that's his only rule if you want to use the music in any of your projects, either commercial or non-commercial, is that you give him a credit somewhere in it, but that can be as subtle or as small as what I've just mentioned. But again, we'll be talking about all of that stuff, page structuring and things next week. So basically, I've been using that with great effect. There's some really good pieces of music on there that are kind of like 30 minutes in length, so you can kind of loop them around, just put it immediately after itself, so it'll play through twice. If it's an hour long, if it's 90 minutes long, just do it 3 times, and then you just run your audio over the top of it. Again, there's really not too much to teach when it comes to this. Using Audacity and these kind of software packages is really kind of pretty simple, pretty straightforward. It sort of speaks for itself once you kind of look at it and just click on a few buttons and try and work your way around it. So what you'll end up with then is that you'll end up with a recorded script. You'll end up with the music that you want underneath it. And at the end of it, you then need to listen back through the entire recording, preferably not hypnotizing yourself in the process. Literally just listen through the entire recording, and if you come across any major ums, ahs, and mistakes, now basic ones, they're okay, but if you come across anything major that you want to get rid of, it's very easy. You can kind of just split where your audio is. You just literally right-click on that on your voice. You can split it at a certain point. Then you find the end of the so you might say and then start talking again. And just before you start talking again, you would split that track again, and then you can delete the bit in the middle and push the two together. And again, that will remove the ums and the ahs. It's very, very simple to do. Again, it's all quite kind of it's all quite easy to work out once you make your way through the software. Once you've done that, at the end of it all, you can then export that audio file as an MP3. So that's just an audio file that will work on iPod, it will work on iPad, it will work on any MP3 player. The customer could even burn it to a CD if they've got a personal hi-fi or a personal CD player or whatever. I think we're probably a little bit past cassette tapes and Walkmans, but CDs, MP3s, they will be able to use that CD with this. So once you've got that, you've ultimately, at the end of the process, you've got an MP3 file then that is your audio product. That in itself is a product. So right now, all around the world, there are stage hypnotists who are selling these kind of products on a CD. You may be one of them. At the end of your show, you might pitch one of these products on a CD. Well, right there and there, that is your audio product. If you were to take that home and rip it off a CD onto your computer, you may already have the original kind of master thing on your computer. That is your MP3 product. That is what you will end up with, and that is how I recommend creating your audio products. Just before I move on to the next section, where we're going to be talking about ebooks, I wanted to just quickly check over with Jonathan, just in case he has anything specific to add about making audio products with regards to what we've kind of just talked about.
Yeah, okay, I've got some notes here, so I'll just make sure I cross off, because it's good you're doing it like that, audio, and then the different versions as we go along. Right, this will probably sound like a step backwards, but I'm just giving you this information for completeness, as it were. I currently have sat next to me the digital voice recorder that I've used for making audio products in the past, which is an Olympus, OLYMPUS. It's an Olympus digital voice recorder. The one I've got has the model number VN-4100PC. You can search for that on Amazon or eBay. Basically, these days for less than £40 sterling, so that's about about $65. For less than that, you should be able to get the digital voice recorder and a presenter's tie-clip mic, the type of thing that you see TV presenters wearing, which clips onto the jacket, and that just plugs into the microphone socket of the recorder, and the recorder is as simple to use as switching it on where it says power on, which I'm sure everyone can manage because I did, and then clicking the red button that says record, and on screen it says it's recording, and then you just talk. Now, as Rob said before, with the computer software, it's always a good idea to have a record test first before you're recording your product, just so that you can work out how loud you're going to speak. Now, in an ideal world, I found with these digital voice recorders, you're best talking as though you're on a stage, delivering a presentation to an audience, and there's a deaf little granny at the back of the room, so you've got to make sure she can hear you. Because you can always, people can always turn the volume down when they come to listen to it. If it's recorded too quiet, that can cause a whole load of other problems. Now, when it came to doing a hypnotherapy product with this, all I actually literally did was I got my stereo in the front room. I made sure I did this during the middle of the night, by the way, when I unplugged all the telephones so they wouldn't start ringing during the recording and knacker things up. I took the batteries out of the doorbell, even though it was highly unlikely someone was going to ring the doorbell at 3 o'clock in the morning. I was just avoiding any potential issues of some git coming and pressing the doorbell and ruining the recording. And I did it during the middle of the night because there's far less likely to be traffic and stuff going past. And I did it during the night, during the week, because stereotypically where I am, you're far less likely to get police cars with the sirens going through the middle of the night, whereas on a Friday, Saturday night when people have been out on drinking and partying, that's more likely to happen. So little things like that are avoiding issues of perhaps your recording getting knackered. So I did a test run where I started my music playing in my stereo, and I stood right near the speakers of the stereo and started talking. Any inane rubbish, it doesn't matter what you're saying, testing 1, 2, and anything, just as long as you're speaking. And I walked further away from the speakers to the other side of my room, speaking at the same level, but counting 1, 2, 3, all the way through to 10. And I made little markers on the floor with bits of paper with numbers 1 through to 10. So as I said the number, I was stood next to that piece of paper. Then I could then stop the music, press stop on the digital recorder, and press play to play it back. And I could then hear when my voice sounded to be at a nice level in comparison to the music in the background that was coming through the speakers from the stereo. And obviously I was listening for, what number I just said. Was it number 4? Was it number 7? Was it number 10? Whatever number it was, I knew then that that's the area of the room I needed to put a chair and sit down on with the digital voice recorder once I'd started play via the remote control on the stereo to start playing the music in the background, which meant the moment I did that, I then read my script, which I had on a little coffee table in front of me, so in a ring binder, so I could turn the pages over. It was printed in very large text, okay, bigger than normal. I just took the Word document of my complete mind therapy script, which is chapter 21 or 22 of my book, Confessions of a Hypnotist, that you'll find in the Elite Hypnosis Bootcamp. I essentially copied and pasted all the text into a Word document, chose alter font size and altered it so that literally I was just getting a few lines per page. So it became quite a thick document, but it meant it was big and easy to read, and I could turn over the pages quite quietly because they were on the table, so they were quite a distance away from where the microphone was on my chest. And that's essentially how I recorded the Audio Complete Mind Therapy CD, which you will actually find a recording of in the Elite Hypnosis Bootcamp under the product with resale rights, I think it is, but it's also under the section headed Hypnotherapy and Complete Mind Therapy. And when you listen to it, you know what, if I hadn't have told you what I've just told you, when you listen to it, it sounds like it's been done in a studio, but in actual fact it was done playing the music in the background on the stereo, so I didn't have to faff around with any software. Now I will say I am now aware of Audacity software. I wasn't before, and having looked at Audacity, it is simple. It is like self-explanatory. There is a red button just like there is on my Olympus voice recorder here that you press that's record. There is a button that clearly says stop for stop. If you can use your stereo at home, you can use this Olympus voice recorder, and if you can use both of them, you can definitely use Audacity software. But when I was still scared of computers, before Rob initiated me into this stuff, that's how I recorded my first audio products, with this that I've got here, digital voice recorder, Olympus model VN PC. Now the thing is, once you've got the recording, there's a little plug that you can stick in, and it plugs in the USB of your computer, and there's a software disk with it that once you've installed it from the disk, which is just putting it into the computer, and it automatically boots up. So even I, who wasn't computer minded, could put the disk in my drive, and it loaded itself automatically. It then will drag the file from the digital voice recorder to your computer hard drive, but it will be what they call a .wav file, W-A-V, W-A-V, a WAV file. So what I then did was literally went on Google and put convert WAV, W-A-V, to MP3 free software. Clicked search, and the first thing that came up said download free software, convert WAV to MP3, and I did. And essentially you just open the WAV file where it says on this software, which again is idiot proof, you just open it and it says choose file, and you choose it like you're opening something on your computer, and then it just converts it to MP3 and then saves that file at the end as an MP3, which means then you've got the same end result that Rob was on about, a ready-made product. But doing it my way, I suppose, has got the slight advantage of not having to do your audio recording, then add your music in. Doing it Rob's way, you will end up with a slightly better, or somewhat a lot better, end recording. But if you do the faffing around with the numbers on sheets of paper on the floor trick that I just told you about, you can get it to sound, as the audio CMT session is a good example of, pretty convincing in terms of being quite good. Now, studio-wise, there's not just recording studios to contact. You can also contact your local colleges and universities, because a lot of them have media studies departments, where as part of that they've got their own practically professional recording studios on site in the college or university, and for a small donation they will let you go in and use that, or sometimes even for free if you say that their students can submit the work they do for you as part of their coursework. So as part of their actual reason for being there, they can help you make your product, record it, sound balance it, edit it, and help you get a really top-notch professional product whereby it costs you pennies or free, because you obviously say they can use it as part of their coursework. That is a very useful tip that I'm sure you'll find useful as well. Here's something else in terms of home recording that a lot of people are not aware of, is that video recorders, you know, camcorders, the long as you can get one that will allow you to attach an external radio mic, perhaps a Bluetooth wireless radio mic, so that you're plugging in one end of that into the camera, and then you've got your microphone, so the sound's coming from there, not just the built-in mic. Generally speaking, the sound quality you get on a video recording device will be higher quality than what you get from a normal home domestic level or even home domestic computer level recording system in terms of clarity and stuff. Yes, it does then mean you need more stuff in the way of software, or asking a friend once you've got that video file to just drag the audio off, but it's something to consider if you have those capabilities, or you can recruit somebody at the local media studies department to do it for you. I'm just thinking, no, the other bits I've got to mention regarding audio, I'm not going to mention yet because they overlap videos and ebooks as well, so I'll mention them near the end. So back to you, Rob. If Rob's there.
Okie dokie.
Oh, he is.
I am, Dave. Just taking a second. Okay, cool. Thank you very much on all of that. I pretty much agree with everything that Jonathan said. Again, I'm kind of putting forward my way and the way I've done stuff. Jonathan's putting forward the way he's done stuff. They both work. They both achieve the end result. And at the end of it, your customers aren't really going to know the difference. So it doesn't make a lot of difference. The important bit is what you feel comfortable doing, what you feel comfortable kind of working with as a system, if you like. So that's pretty much all I wanted to mention on audio products, which means it's time to move on and talk about the next category of, if you like, of products, which is an ebook product, something like that. Once the slide loads on my screen, there we go. So, with regards to an ebook, what is an ebook? Well, of course, it stands for electronic book, which sounds scary, but effectively all we're really talking about here is, you know, any form of document. So it's just like if you can type a letter in Microsoft Word, you can write an ebook, you can become a published author, because once you publish an ebook, it's still published. So with that said, the first thing you're going to require, obviously, is some kind of word processing software. Something like Microsoft Word is the kind of the obvious industry-leading choice. I actually recommend something called OpenOffice. The reason I recommend it is because it's free. It is almost a perfect rip-off of Microsoft Word in terms of its layout and everything. When you open it, somebody that just glanced at it would probably think you were using Microsoft Word. Pretty much everything is in the same place. It's completely free and available from openoffice.org to download. And it's really cool. It also has an incredible feature that will save you a lot of time and effort, which I'll talk about at the end of this section. So once you've got some kind of word processing software, people kind of get frightened about writing books because they think, oh my God, I'm gonna start and I don't know where I'm going, and the thing's gonna have no structure and it's all dreadful. So what I have is a really simple system that I personally use, and I know a lot of people do, in order to make sure that writing their ebook becomes structured. And really, otherwise, it's because you end up with the same problem that I mentioned about with the audio product, and that is that if you just ramble on with no particular plan, direction, or format, then you will literally just end up talking and talking and talking and repeating yourself and all the rest of it. And the same thing applies with writing a book. You'll find yourself that you'll be typing, and you'll say things you've already said, and you'll cover things you've already covered, and then you'll get to the end of one chapter and realize, actually, really, that chapter probably should have gone before chapter 2, and all the rest of it becomes very messy. So what I tend to do, first of all, is to work out the kind of the contents or a general theme or a general flow for your ebook. So, in other words, what I would do is to look at the different steps, if you like, or the different sections of a particular process in order to get someone from A to B. So, for example, if you were writing an ebook that would help somebody to, for example, get a girlfriend, so perhaps you're attacking the dating marketplace and you want to write a book that's to do with helping people to get a girlfriend. Well, obviously, what you would then need to do is to look at the various steps that are involved in taking that guy from where he is right now, A, and taking him to step B or C or D or whatever in order to have his girlfriend. So, step 1 would be to maybe start going out, go somewhere. So go to a nightclub, or go to a restaurant, or go to a pub, or go somewhere. And again, I'm making this up as I go along, so this won't be great, but you'll get the idea. Step 2 would be to actually go and talk to that girl and strike up some kind of conversation. And you could talk through, obviously he might think, oh God, I can never go and talk to a girl. But in that section, if you were to talk about all the different conversation topics, how to keep a conversation flirty and flowing, how to keep it easy, how to make them feel at ease, how to make them feel like you are interested in them, etc., etc. The next step would obviously be maybe to ask for a phone number. So step 3 would be how to ask for a phone number. Step 4 would be to have some kind of closing sort of thing, and step 5 would be how to follow up with that. Now again, I've just kind of made that up as a whim, but you get the general concept. And what would happen is I've then given him step A, step B, step C, step D, step E, step F, whatever. And each of those steps would then become a chapter in the book. So what I recommend you do first of all is to work out exactly what it is that you want to cover in the book. and make sure that everything is covered by a chapter. Now again, you can do this by mind mapping your book first, and this is what I typically do. I'll make a new mind map, and I'm no Tony Buzan sort of mind mapping expert or anything. My mind maps are very basic, but you get the concept. Is that you would start off with the central section, which would be the title of the book or whatever, and then what happens is I would have lots of branches coming off that section of the mind map, and each of those sections would go to a chapter title. So I'd lay out each of the chapter titles. Then each of those chapter titles would have a separate stem coming off it, which would be the subsections, if you like, or the individual sections within each chapter. And then coming off each of those, I'd have the bullet points of what I want to cover. And then ultimately, what you could end up with is a 500-page book. Obviously, you don't need to be a 500-page book unless you're writing the best hypnotherapy and stage hypnosis training manual ever. It doesn't have to be a 500-page book, but you get the idea. It could just be a 100-page book, but you could have hundreds of pages of book worth of content, but crammed into a single mind map. And then you've got a really good overview of everything that you can very easily then turn into a book. So once you've kind of got that overview, and you don't have to mind map it, but I personally love doing it that way, you would then open Microsoft Word or OpenOffice or any kind of word processing software, and basically you would then list your contents page. So I always do the contents first. I make a contents page, and I put chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, chapter 5, chapter 6, however many you've ended up with, and you literally just go through and list each of those things that you've come up with, each of your kind of first layer off the mind map, if you like. And those are your main sections. Now probably you will also have an introduction at the beginning and a conclusion type chapter at the end. So you can immediately now add the introduction and you can add the conclusion. So now you will have a contents page which consists of an introduction, then lots of chapters, and then a conclusion at the end. If you want to have an about the author section, you can add that. So now what you've ended up with is a contents page for your book, obviously without all of the page numbers on. You've just got the chapter titles. And what that means you can now do is to go through and make a page for each of those chapters. So the introduction would have a page, chapter 1 would have a page, chapter 2 would have a page, chapter 3 would have a page, chapter 4 would have a page, and so on and so forth. Once you've got that, you now have the rough outline of your book. Now sure, you'll need to do other things, like you'll need to add in a copyright page at the beginning. You'll need to add in a page where you can put the cover of your ebook once you've got it. That's something we'll be doing next week. You'll need to add in those kind of things. But you'll have the basic outline of the book. And what that means you can then do is to then work through each of those sections, one after the other, one by one, and implement the different sections and the different bullet points, if you like, that you have got from your main mind map, from your original mind map. You can actually go through and just fill out all of the content, elaborate on all of the bullet points that you made in the mind map, and it's a very easy way, very neat way to go through and finish that book. Now, obviously, you'll want to take your time over this, probably. You'll want to do a section at a time and really try and work through it in order. If you hit writer's block on any particular chapter, it would be tempting to jump forward to the next chapter because you'll think, oh, but I know how I'm going to start that chapter. But then you might get halfway through that one and hit another writer's block, and then you'll think, it's okay, I know the first line of the next chapter, so I'll do that now and I'll come back to this one. I recommend not doing that. If you hit writer's block, I recommend going away and coming back to do it again later, because otherwise you'll end up, I've done this, you'll end up with a half-finished book that's got hundreds of empty chapters in it, and none of it makes any sense, and you don't really have the inspiration to go through and do anything with it. So that's kind of a bit of a pain. Donna says, can you show us what an actual mind map looks like? Yes, I'll actually show you one of the mind maps for my products towards the end of the webinar. We'll finish the main webinar first, and I'll come back and show you that in the brainstorming section, just so I can leave the slides up for now. So once you've done that, then you can then go through and you actually end up with basically your completed book. Just go through chapter by chapter, section by section. Once you've done all of that, of course, you then need to make sure the book is kind of okay, that there aren't any glaring errors. Try and remove as many of the spelling and grammar errors as possible. So typically I would recommend that you give a few copies of the book away, just in normal Word document format or whatever, to as many people as you can who are good at English. So in my case, I give it to my dad. My dad used to proofread for a newspaper, so I know that I'm safe to actually give him that document, and he can go through and find any glaring errors. Now, obviously, At the end of the day, if this was being published by an actual publishing company, being released as an actual book, they would do all of that. It would be fully edited, although having said that, I've read a couple of books recently, I won't name them, that have got some glaringly obvious spelling errors in them. Particularly books that are published, even if they are professionally published books that are professionally, you can go and buy from a bookshop that are in stock. You can actually look at the, if you get the Kindle version, they are typically riddled with errors, and there's a couple of reasons for that that I won't go into. But try and get it as proofread as possible, try and get rid of as many of the errors as you possibly can. Once you've got that, you can then add in your kind of copyright section, you can add in all of those kind of things. You can typically get copyright messages and stuff. If you actually just go on Google and search for book copyright messages or publishing copyright messages, you can actually get a general idea of what you need to look for. Now, you could go out and pay a solicitor to write that for you. I don't recommend it. You can pretty much, you can work out something that's going to cover you just by basically using other people's for inspiration and use theirs as a sort of a basis. Just a 2 or 3 line kind of general publishing thing, copyright message. I also recommend putting in some kind of legal disclaimer that says that neither the author nor the publisher accept any responsibility for wrongdoing or harm or whatever caused by this book. Everything you read is here provided for information and entertainment purposes only, blah, blah, blah. You know, we recommend consulting a doctor for any medical condition, etc. That kind of thing. And once you've got all of that, then you then have your book written out. And the last thing you need to do is to export this book as a PDF file. Now, PDF stands for Portable Document Format, and basically it is you'll see them all the time. You'll regularly download PDF files, and they are read with Adobe Acrobat Reader, which is pretty much a free piece of software that I guess probably every computer connected to the internet will have somewhere on it. And basically it's a really easy way to guarantee that people will be able to read your book but can't go through and edit it. So for example, if you sent them the raw document file, they'd actually be able to accidentally delete the whole book. Obviously just from their computer, but at the same time that would mean they can't read it anymore. So if you give them the PDF, they can't accidentally edit it, mess it up, change it, or do anything with it. So definitely recommend using a PDF thing. Now I'm going to ask Jonathan what he does with his to make a PDF in a moment, but there are a couple of ways to do it. One, you can get, you can actually, if you actually Google PDF creation software, you'll find numerous pieces of software. Some are free and some have got a low price tag on them. Adobe's itself is very expensive, but you can get them very, very cheap. And typically what happens is you add it as a kind of, there's 2 ways. Either you just get a piece of software, you open a Word document in it, click a button, and it converts it to a PDF. Or my favorite way of doing this, apart from the one I'm going to mention in a minute, is you can get a piece of software which will basically, once you've got your Word document, and you install this piece of software, if you go to File and Print, as if you were going to print your book from a computer printer, you would then choose what printer you want to use. So you might have the Epson CS92300 or the HP whatever. But listed in your list of printers will be something called it's something like Print PDF. And when you tap that, it goes through a printing process, but rather than printing it out of your computer, it actually just churns out a PDF file. So you are printing to a PDF file, but obviously you're not actually printing anything, it just does it on your computer. The best way, in my opinion, to make a PDF is to use OpenOffice. So this is what I was mentioning, this secretly awesome feature of OpenOffice, the free version of Microsoft Word, is that it has a PDF converter built in. So whereas you would normally just save the file in Microsoft Word and save it as a file, in OpenOffice you can save it so that you can go back and edit it later, but you can then click File, Export, and you can export it as a PDF. It takes seconds to do it, and you end up with a PDF file that's perfect, it's completely free, it's built in to the software that you actually wrote the book in. What that means is that all of the formatting will be perfect. Occasionally with these external PDF softwares, you can lose a little bit of formatting. With OpenOffice, because you've actually written the document in OpenOffice, so all of your headings will be the same size, all of your, provided you wrote them at the same size, anything that's red will remain red, anything that's black will remain black, all of the image layouts, if you put any images in, will remain in the same place, which won't happen, which can be screwed if you use some sort of external software. So I recommend using OpenOffice to write the book because it's free, available from openoffice.org, and it has a built-in PDF export function, which is absolutely fab. I use it myself. So that's really cool. If you happen to be using Mac, by the way, then I recommend getting Pages, which is the Apple equivalent of Microsoft Word, and again that also has a built-in PDF export function. But for the majority of people who are on PC, I recommend using OpenOffice.org, and effectively that's kind of how I write all of my ebook type products. Or I'm writing 3 books this year that I want to physically publish, and that's exactly how I'm writing all of those as well, laying out all of those different sections. Now there is one alternative way to write a book which I've intentionally not mentioned, and that's because I want Jonathan to talk about it in just a moment, which I assume he'll know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
There is another way to write a book without actually writing anything. So with that said, that's it from my perspective on writing a book. So now I'm going to hand you over to Jonathan to give you his kind of take on all of that stuff.
Right, cheers, Rob. Can I just check the next, when we move on from ebook products, we're going on to video, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
Right, okay, in which case I will cover what I've got down here as notes, which will also overlap into video, but I know what I'm going to mention about video before you go on to it will be different than what you're mentioning, just because you like to do things a little bit more properly. So, all right, everyone.
So you don't want to make any comment here? You want to work?
Yeah, I'm going to do about ebooks. It's just that it'll cross-relate as well to what we talked about before, audio, and cross-relate to video. We'll start with the bullet point I've got here. Regarding the PDFs, I do stuff in Microsoft Word. I then use a piece of software that's free to download called Nitro. That's Nitro. Nitro PDF Converter. You just search that in Google, you can download it for free, and quite simply it's just like going to your control panel on your computer, except you open this piece of software by double clicking on it like you would opening anything on your computer, and there's a bit that says open. You click on there and it shows you then the various places on your computer.
Sorry about
obviously.
that.
Pardon?
Sorry about that, folks. My audio dropped out then, so I wasn't listening. Were you talking, or?
I was talking.
Okay, cool. You can continue. Sorry about that. My audio dropped out, but that's fine. Keep going.
Okay. So Nitro PDF Converter, it's called. Basically, you open up the Word document file, you choose to open that, and rather than opening it on your screen, it opens it in that software and changes it to PDF and saves it as a PDF document on your computer. It's idiot proof, trust me, because I could use it without even having to read the help section, because it does tell you on screen step by step what to do. That's how I convert Word documents to PDF. Now, having said that, everything Rob said is fantastic advice, and I've used the exact approach that is mentioned before, actually typing up a book after I've laid out a structure of chapter headings. I've then gone through and wrote each chapter, so to speak. I found an easier way of writing an ebook, which I've used a number of times in the past, is to use the same technique that Rob's mentioned of making your chapter headings in advance, but then I sit down with my Olympus digital voice recorder, model number VN4100PC. They probably don't even make this model anymore. They're all pretty much the same anyway. But I sit there with my little microphone, I look at the chapter heading, and I imagine somebody has just paid me $1,000 or £1,000 to talk to them for the next sort of half hour or an hour about that chapter heading. And I spill out every piece of advice and knowledge I know relevant to that chapter heading to the imaginary person in front of me. And yeah, you will get the odd and pauses and stuff as you're doing that, just as you were talking to somebody, but that's fine for the reason I'm about to explain. And I'd go through each chapter heading and do that. Once I've got that audio file, you might think you've got all these and you might have the odd and pauses and stuff, the annoying little pausey noises, as it were. Well, what you do is you go to a site such as elance, elance.com, elance.com, or there's other sites such as fiverr.com, fiverr.com, where you can find people to work incredibly cheaply. And ultimately what you will end up doing is sending them the MP3 file of what you've recorded and getting them to listen to it with one proviso only, and that is, because when you recorded it, you will have said, for example, Chapter 1, creating the right environment to hypnotise somebody, or whatever it is you've got written on your piece of paper notes in front of you, like Rob suggested. And obviously when you get to the end of Chapter 1, they will know it's the end of Chapter 1 because you will verbally go Chapter 2. So the only clear instructions you have to give them is when you are heard to say Chapter 1 or Chapter 2, that is a new chapter, and they must put that heading in as such and the name that you say as a chapter heading, that they are to remove any obvious ers and ahs unless you told them otherwise. Because obviously if it was a hypnotherapy training manual, there may be a reason for having long pauses, in which case you'd have to instruct them and make it clear to them to translate that into the written version. Ultimately, for minimal money, and I mean literally, even if you've seen my Confessions of a Hypnotist book, that's the expanded edition's 556 pages, there's an obscenely huge number of words in there, it's massive. That actually still costs less than $100 to have transcribed. We're talking peanuts, and most ebooks are maybe only 40, 50, generally less than 100 pages, a lot of info product ebooks. So, you know, you'll probably get it transcribed for less than $20 if you search around. And that saves you having the ball ache of typing. They'll put the grammar in, they'll paragraph it, format it, you end up with your PDF product nice and easily. But also, you've already got the audio there. Now, the audio admittedly will have ers and ahs in it, so you can either pay somebody, again, freelance, to edit those out, which costs you next to now, or you make it a feature in your sales copy. You know, this professionally typeset ebook comes complete with the raw audio files used to formulate the ebook. It's listening to them are a great addition to reading the book, and it's almost as if the author is speaking directly to you. Errors and all. You can actually make it a positive, so that automatically you've already got an audio product to add to the ebook to add extra perceived value. You know, you can put in the bullshit that's also true. The fact, you know, some people learn best through reading. Some people learn best through hearing things. Others learn best through looking at them visually on video. But we're going to supply you all three, because when you read the book and listen to the audio at the same time, it stimulates different areas of the brain and you take it on board better. There is evidence to show that's true, but whether it is or it isn't, it's great marketing ploy, and it sounds, you know, like a higher perceived value. So that's how I'd get a PDF and also an audio product really easily. Now, Amazon Kindle these days is a massive growing market, and even people who don't have Amazon Kindle can still buy Kindle ebooks from the Kindle e-store, because they can now download from Amazon a piece of software for their computer or other devices that will read the Amazon Kindle book format. So, what's the easiest way to get your book available in Amazon Kindle format, which is, I find, a hugely profitable market for me. If you look on Amazon Kindle or go on Amazon and just search Jonathan Royle, you'll find loads of my books on sale in the Amazon Kindle store. Basically, I just took the Word document I had, and you search for Amazon, you know, create your own Amazon Kindle publisher account, and it will take you to a site that, if I just type it in my computer slightly, it will take you to, there's no www before this, just you literally just put in HTTPS for secure, the two dots, the lines, but in fact you don't even need to do that. Just type in your browser dtp.amazon.co.uk, then click enter, and it will automatically redirect you to KDP Select, which is Kindle Direct Publishing website. If you've already got an Amazon account, you can sign into it using that. If you haven't, you sign up for the free account. You upload your Word document and you click convert, and it converts it to an Amazon Kindle file. It doesn't have the option there for you to download it, though, but you don't need to, because if you want a copy for yourself to accidentally be able to pass on to people, the way to do that is set it for sale in the Amazon store, then buy a copy off yourself and download it. That way you get your hands on it to be able to give it as a free bonus as part of a package of other stuff. But also it means you can have it on sale in the Amazon Kindle store in literally, well, let me give you this example. If you were to sit down and write 20 pages in 16-point text, which means you don't have to have a huge number of words on each page, with fairly big margins. So again, in truth, you'd probably be able to fit it all on 8 or 9 sheets of A4, but by putting the margins in and big text, it will take up maybe 20 sheets of A4, and taught some simple self-hypnosis system or whatever for stopping smoking. You could upload that Word document to Amazon Kindle, click convert, and then it'll ask you to fill in a form, which is the title of the book and advertising blurb, i.e. to sell the book to the person who finds it for sale on the site. Now, in terms of how to sell it to them, we leave that till next week, and that's how to put your web pages together. The same sort of techniques will be used, but one tip that's Amazon Kindle relevant only, or perhaps also relevant to eBay in a small way, is that your title doesn't necessarily want to sound wonderful. It does for the terms of a website, like everything that Rob's taught you, but if you want to sell a product on Amazon Kindle and sell the maximum number of copies, you want to give it the most ridiculous title. And this is because you want it to contain as many keywords as possible in the title that are relevant to the subject matter of the book. I'll give you an example. If I just type Jonathan Royle in Amazon now, I'm looking for, I'll just search in Amazon Kindle only, so I'll search Kindle store only. My book, Confessions of a Hypnotist, that's how it sells as a paperback and a hardback book, because of the marketing strategy behind it. However, on Amazon Kindle, that same ebook but in Kindle format, because convert for me, is actually called, well, I've got it up there. I've got it up in different names, actually. I've got it under the name The Professional Art of Comedy Stage Hypnosis and Street Hypnotism, so that anyone who searches for comedy hypnosis, stage hypnosis, street hypnotism, I've got ones up there where the title is Secrets of Hypnotists, Hypnotherapy, Mesmerism, NLP, Stage Hypnosis, Hypnotists, Hypnotherapy. What a crappy title for a book. However, it gets found by anyone searching any of those keywords, and that's why I sell hundreds of copies a week of my Kindle ebooks, because they've got the crappiest titles, but they've got the most keywords in. It's the direct opposite of what you need to do with your website, which Rob's teaching you about. But I'm adding it in because at the same time you launch your website, you could launch your Kindle ebook, the ebook that's perhaps part of your website package, and you can put the Kindle stuff up at whatever price you want. I've got stuff up there for $5. I've got stuff up there for $100. You could put your ebook section of your package on Kindle at $100, for example, so that on your website for your system where they get the ebook and the audio for maybe $77 or $97, you can within the advertising say, this has already been selling as an Amazon Kindle ebook for $100 or whatever ridiculous price you put on it. And they could go then and check and see that actually it is selling for that on Amazon Kindle, which lends more credibility and belief to the perceived value of the product you're selling on your website. So I just thought I'd throw that in. The next note I've got here is some people don't like the sound of their own voice. So when you've recorded that stuff on your audio recorder and you can, farm it out to somebody to type it up for you, which gives you your ebook, The original recording can be the raw author speaking to you soundtrack bonus that we get, or once it's been typed and transcribed, you can then send the typewritten version to a freelance voice artist, who again you can find on elance.com or fiverr.com, and get them to read it out and record it in their professional, fantastic sounding voice at a very, very low cost. And because all the recording's being done elsewhere by people who've already got the professional equipment, although it may cost you, you know, $50, $60, as much as $100 to get it done, you don't have to buy yourself the microphone, you don't have to learn how to use any of the software, and you end up with a really professional sounding end product. So that's something else to consider. Initially, if you wanted to get started, remember that as an elite Hypnosis Bootcamp member, there is a section where there's resale rights ebooks for you to download that come with the rights for you to add your own name onto them. So it looks like you've written them. So that gives you instant ebooks. Now, there are not audio products with them. Well, not yet there isn't. You see, you could send that ebook to a voice artist, or sit down yourself with your digital voice recorder or your Audacity software and read it out. Just literally read out, as though you're reading it to somebody, the ebook, so that you've got an audio version of what's in the ebook. Hey presto, you're now selling them an ebook and an audio product. And your script is the ebook that's already there for you in various self-help niches and topics in the resale rights section of the Elite Hypnosis Bootcamp, of which you are a member. So there's no excuse for not getting started straight away. I mentioned using colleges and universities for the media study department earlier. That applies to video as well as audio recording. They have media studies departments in most colleges and unis these days who've got pretty almost broadcast quality, I mean television broadcast quality cameras there that can do your videoing for you, then the editing, and you end up with your end product. My cheaty way, my lazy man's way of having ended up with so many products on the market over the years has been to come up with a subject matter, get bullet points like Rob said, but then rather than just writing a book or recording the audio and then getting someone to transcribe it, although I've done that as well, I've literally booked a function room somewhere for a minimal cost, and I've advertised on eBay and social network sites the fact that I'm doing a 1 or 2 day training seminar on that subject, because I find with an audience to speak to and demonstrate on that it's a lot easier to impart that knowledge that's inside my head, or that you may have become an instant expert on by ordering the top 6 selling and best reviewed books on that subject from Amazon, reading not the entire books, but just the end of each chapter where it's got the summary of each chapter. That tends to give you enough between the 6 books to literally do a 1 or 2 day seminar and be as much of an expert as any expert out there on that subject. Trust me, I've done it at the last minute on the most bizarre of subjects when I've been asked by corporate companies to go in, and you end up sounding like a total expert. So I would then do a live training seminar which, while it's occurring, is being videoed. I've also got my audio pocket recorder with the microphone clipped to me, so I'm getting an audio recording at the same time. Afterwards, the video or audio can be sent to somebody on elance.com or fiverr.com, and they can transcribe it. So we end up with a video, an audio, an ebook, and perhaps even a printed workbook if you want to get into physical products and extra perceived value, all from doing one event. One event that costs you nothing because you get the room for next to now. You say the ticket price is normally £1,000 for this seminar, but people can have, you know, a seminar ticket for 150 quid. And even if you only got half a dozen people in the room, suddenly you're making yourself best part of £1,000 to make your master copies for your video, your audio, and your book products. Yeah, it's nice. You actually get paid to make the products. Only a couple of things I've got left that I want to butt in and give you tips on before Rob gets onto the video section is a book I recommend everyone to read, because I keep going on about outsourcing and getting other people to do the things as cheaply as possible. Elance.com and Fiverr.com are great sites, but there's loads of others, too many to list here. What I suggest you do is invest less than $10, go on Amazon.com and order a copy of The 4-Hour Work Week by Timothy Ferriss, his second name being spelled Ferriss. The 4-Hour Work Week by Timothy Ferriss. It will teach you how to do exactly what it says on the tin to some level. It will work great in conjunction with everything you're going to learn over the next few webinars, and it will give you loads of sources for getting your video, your audio, your ebooks and all that transcribed or edited or cleaned up and made professional looking incredibly cheaply, so you can concentrate on the really, really mega important stuff, which is sort of next week, getting your sales page together and monetizing and making money out of this stuff. Some people are old-fashioned, like me, and still like or want to offer two options, i.e. some people of a certain age group. I know my grandma, for example, would not want to download an ebook or an MP3. She would sooner receive an audio CD through the post she can put in a stereo and a physical book she could read. So, you know, there's a certain area of a market that you may lose only offering digital download. It's the minority of it these days, admittedly, but if you want to cover the full market, you may want to offer the option of you know, them either buying the ebook and audio MP3 and perhaps MPEG video downloads for example, $97, or they can have the physical book, the physical CD and the physical DVD sent to them through the post for $147 or $167. Obviously, that's got a higher perceived value, which means you can charge more, which also means it covers the cost of doing that. And to make that simple, so you don't have to lay out loads of money up front, it's worth looking at sites such as Lulu, LULU.com, and Amazon's CreateSpace. Just search for Amazon CreateSpace. Both of these services allow you to upload a Word document or a PDF, depending on which service you're using, that you've created, as we've already talked about, and then for a minimal cost, if you want, you can buy an ISBN number so it looks like a real published book, and actually it will end up being available to order through shops on the high street. Won't be on the shelf, but people could go in and order with the ISBN, which gives you some credibility if you want to then say you are a genuine published author as the ISBN. But it means that you only have to pay for the book to be printed once people have already paid to buy the book. Print on demand is how the majority of books are actually printed these days, including even for some household name publishing companies. The websites are self-explanatory, so have a look at them. That's the cheapest practical way, Lulu.com and Amazon CreateSpace, of getting a book in print with next to no setup costs. And with CDs and DVDs, this is my final thing to mention before I hand you back to Rob, if you wanted to offer them as more than just downloads, you want to be looking at Kunaki, K-U-N-A-K-I, Kunaki.com, where they will produce your CDs and your DVDs for you, including on-body printing, colour covers, where it's shrink wrapped and sent out to the customer, so you don't have to do any of the fulfillment work. And it is very, very low cost indeed. So I need a wee. Sorry to share that with you. So I'll be back in a few minutes' time, but I'll hand you over to Rob now, who will tell you how to do things in a more modern, up-to-date way. Although some of you at some point, I'm sure, will find the advice on, supplying the physical books, CDs and DVDs of use as well. So I'll hand you back to Rob.
Thank you very much. Welcome back to my half of the call, everybody. Donna says we could all use a short break, ? Okay, I don't know if you want to wait for a few minutes while you pop to the loo, and we'll just give everyone a quick break if they want to grab a drink or whatever.
Get people to put in yes if they want a quick 5 minutes just to go for a wee and get a drink.
Just go ahead, type yes into the questions box. I can do with grabbing a drink actually, and I'm probably hard to believe. Okay, everybody says yes. All right, cool. We'll have a short break now. We'll literally be back in 2 or 3 minutes. So don't go too long. Don't go
on my clock here it says it's 1:45 the hour. We will start no later than 10 to the hour. In other words, 3 to 5 minutes from now, everyone.
Okay, see you in a few minutes, everyone.
All right.
Okay then, folks, I'm back in my seat. I'll just wait until I know that Jonathan is back in his seat too. I make it exactly 10 to now. So once I know that Jonathan is back in his place, then we will crack on. Until then, I will keep randomly talking. Of course, I will edit this entire section out of the recording so that it won't be messy. I'll remove all of this bit, as we have been talking about. Donna says, how long do you anticipate this class going this evening? It shouldn't be too much longer. We basically just need to cover video products, then we want to talk about the value of combining different types of products, and then that's it. And then it will just be over to your questions and answers. I do want to show you a mind map example, as you asked, as well, which we'll do last. But probably we should be done within the next half an hour or so. Are you all enjoying the class so far this evening? I know that last week's webinar got rave reviews. Are you all enjoying it tonight so far? Go ahead, type yes into the questions box. All right, cool. Everyone's saying yes. Thank you, Tony, Clarence, Donna, everybody else. Buck, thank you very much. Good. As long as it's proving valuable, that's all that matters. And really, you know, product creation is one of the things that really scares people. But there's really nothing too much to worry about. It is very much so, dude. Oh, hang on. I can hear Jonathan back in his seat, I think.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, fella, I've just been filling in until you got back.
Well, I'm
so
back.
With that said, everybody seems. I've just asked if everyone's enjoying the class so far, and everybody said yes, as you'll be able to see from the questions.
Yes, indeed. Nice one.
So that's good. All right then. With that said, then I do want to crack on. I really genuinely anticipated that tonight's call would be a lot shorter. But
well, can I just answer this question? Kindle charge absolutely nothing. They only take money off you when you've sold an item. They process all the orders, and then the money's paid into your bank, directly into your bank once a month. That's paid in 3 different ways, because they pay you the amount in UK sterling, the amount in euros that gets paid in sterling, and also the amount in dollars that gets sent as a dollar check, which admittedly you have to convert, but at the end of the day you end up getting 3 payments a month coming in. And as long as you've got the copyright on the item you put up, which if you created you have, you tick that box saying that, in which case you get to keep 70% of the money. So if you're selling an item for $10, let's say, every time it sells, you will end up with $7 that ends up getting sent to your bank account. Now, if you look at Amazon Kindle store, as I say, you'll see I've got quite a lot of stuff on there if you search Jonathan Royle, and I get a regular 4-figure sum payments into my bank from them for doing absolutely nothing, because it's their website that's already wonderfully Google ranked and advertised, that finds the traffic, and by giving it the crappy title, which goes against everything you're learning about doing for your own website. So don't do this except for on Kindle. But on Kindle, by me having those titles that are really crappy, you'll see by looking, that have all the keywords in, that's how I get found. My product gets found and gets bought, and there's a lot of money to be made there. So that's just to answer that. So back to you, Rob.
Cool. So just to clarify for everyone, that was a question that Keith asked about how much it costs to actually get started with Kindle publishing, just so you know where that came from. Everybody's really enjoying it so far. Donna says you have demystified the process, so that's good. As I said, product creation really scares people, but when you break it down to its bare bones, it's actually very simple. So, with that said, and I will edit that entire break that we've just had out of the recording so that it's all very neat, because of course if you do need to have a break, you can just pause the recording. You can't do that with us when we're live. You can't shut us up. With that said then, let's move on to category number 3 of 3, which is video products. So, to create a video product, you will require a good, but you can get them very cheap, video camera. Now personally I recommend something called the Kodak PlaySport camera. I actually don't have one, and I'll explain why in a second. I have a camera called the Kodak ZI8 camera, which is now being discontinued, and it's been replaced with the Kodak PlaySport camera. So that's its newest equivalent. So if I was to go out and buy one today, I'd be buying a Kodak PlaySport camera, which is an improved version of the one I've got, which is the one I've always been recommending until I Googled for it an hour ago and found out that they no longer exist. So you want to look for the Kodak PlaySport camera. It's actually called the ZX5, the one that I recommend, the Kodak PlaySport ZX5. Now, just looking at the prices, you can actually get these for between £60 and £100, depending on where you buy them from. You can get them from Amazon, you can buy them direct from Kodak, you can buy them from all sorts of places online, but just Google Kodak PlaySport ZX5 and you'll find it. So it's very cheap, between £60 and £100, yet, despite its cost, it records at full 1080p HD video. Now that's really the highest resolution you can play on the internet without it being a ridiculous file size. So you could go out and spend £5,000 buying a TV camera, but the end result would be that you'd have to compress the file so much to play on the internet that it would look like it had been filmed on one of these Kodak PlaySport video cameras. So getting started with video is actually very cheap. Between £60 and £100 I recommend for a Kodak PlaySport video camera. As I said, it's full 1080p HD. If you don't know what that means, it doesn't matter. If you do, then you'll know that that's good. It's really good. It's waterproof, so if you wanted to do anything underwater, you can. There you go. And it's just a really, really good camera. As I said, mine is good, and this is even better. If you look at the Elite Hypnosis Bootcamp, if you look, there were some free videos that we gave away before we launched the Elite Hypnosis Bootcamp. And on the beginning of some of those, there was all of those, in fact, there was a section which was recorded with Jonathan, just stood in front of what looked like a red curtain, talking directly to camera. That was actually filmed on a Kodak ZI-8 camera, and that's been compressed quite heavily. So that's actually under NAF quality compared to what its real quality capabilities are. So you definitely want to get, in my opinion, the Kodak PlaySport ZX5 camera. Blah, 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 blah. If you've already got a digital camera, fine. Absolutely great. If that works, it works. You're not looking to produce something that Steven Spielberg's going to be proud of. It's just got to be good enough to be able to see it and not be all pixelated. I'm sure Jonathan will talk about the camera he's got in a moment. But his is more expensive, I think, than the Kodak PlaySport. So for a good camera, you can get that. You can also, the alternative to that is to get the Flip Cam. If you just Google Flip Cam, there's a company called Flip, and they make this Flip Cam video. It's very similar. That's their equivalent of the Kodak PlaySport. It's also very good. It also records in 1080p HD. It's fine. It's a little bit more expensive. I prefer the Kodak, but it's up to you. You can go and compare the two. You'll also need some kind of basic video editing software. Now, if you're on PC, you will already have Windows Movie Maker because it comes free with Windows. If you're not and you've got Mac, you can use iMovie, which again comes with it. It's something called iLife, which typically you'll get when you buy the Mac. So on PC, Windows Movie Maker is fine, and on Mac, iMovie is fine too. That's, again, just the Mac equivalent. Now, basically, what you're going to do with your video products is put together a presentation that you can present to the camera. Now, personally, I recommend not fully scripting your video. So don't write out every word and put it out in front of you unless you can read fluently and have an auto cue type piece of software. I have played around. I've got an auto cue thing for my iPad, so I could type a script into the auto cue app, hold it up, clip it up on the wall in front of me, and then look behind the camera and read from it. But it does typically, unless you've got all the proper software, it does typically look like you're looking up and over the camera. It doesn't quite look right. And unless you are very good at sight reading and reading from the script, but making it sound natural, it sounds very rehearsed. So I recommend that you don't script your entire video presentation.
One quick tip there from my years and numerous TV appearances worldwide, and also having presented TV shows for certain channels, is that an auto cue, to look natural, ideally you'd want the camera on a tripod, okay? And then you would want, if you were going to use the iPad idea that Rob just mentioned, you would have to have that so the top of the iPad was literally in line, almost touching the bottom of the front of the camera. You would have to have it supported there somewhere. Because if you look at the camera on the tripod, which is obviously raised up, your eye line, when it is looking slightly more down, ever so slightly at where the iPad would be, as long as the top of the iPad is touching the bottom of the camera, it will be in the same position as where they used to, and I'll say used to for a reason, used to book the auto cues in TV studios, because it gives that least amount of difference, so it looks like you're looking at the person at home as you're speaking. In truth now, real professional systems, there's actually like a piece of glass that goes over the screen of the camera, which can film through the glass and see like the audience or you talking, but you on it can see projected the words going past, so you genuinely are looking into the lens. But the next nearest to that is like it used to be, where it's actually just at the bottom edge of the camera, as close to that as possible, because then your eye line seems to be looking at the lens.
Just to answer a quick question, Donna says, what is an auto cue? We're actually separated by a common language here. This is what most people in the world call a teleprompter. It's the thing that basically feeds the script to the person presenting to camera, so that you are, it's what your weather presenters and newsreaders are using all the time, and most TV presenters, in fact. So it's a teleprompter if you're elsewhere in the world, auto cue if you're in good old Blighty. The other thing is mentioning what Alex just mentioned, Jonathan, Alex, whatever, just mentioned then, is you can also get, actually, if you have an iPad and you want to use a teleprompter, I haven't bought one yet, but I intend to. A couple of companies have actually made a proper auto cue or teleprompter stand for an iPad, which holds the iPad below the camera and points it up at an angled piece of glass so that it will reflect the writing, but obviously the camera can't see it. And it's about $400, so it's not cheap. But I intend to make a lot more videos this year for a new project that I'm launching, and with that in mind, I intend to buy one of these. But typically, again, I won't be fully scripting the entire video presentation. Instead, what I prefer to do is to create a list of bullet points, effectively, which can be kept somewhere near the camera, or if you wanted to use this teleprompter arrangement, you can, and just have the bullet points on instead. And basically, this allows you to have a more natural feel. It allows it to be more relaxed and more casual. Now, of course, if you turned on the telly and the newsreader was very relaxed and casual, it might not be so good, but they do sound, if you listen to a typical newsreader, it does sound very scripted, and the reason is because it is, and it sounds very neat and very formal and very proper, if you like. Whereas what I like to have is a nice, informal, relaxed environment, where it's just me sat on a sofa or stood in front of a screen, talking to the camera directly. So for my purposes, and I think for yours probably too, you'll be better off to have a bullet point script too. If you're very good at learning scripts, of course, you could learn the script and rehearse it a few times to make it more, to make it sound more natural. But typically, I think a list of bullet points is better. Basically, once you've done that, you go and have a wash, you go and have a shave, you put a nice shirt on, make yourself presentable, you sit down in a nice light room, preferably. If you've got a conservatory with a nice sofa in it, you might wish to go and sit there. I'm not saying you need to go out, we did, but I'm not saying you need to go out and buy all the photography lights. We have a green screen studio where we record some of our videos and things. I don't recommend that you need to do any of that, especially when you're starting out, although you can do it for less than $1,000, which people think, oh, you can't have a big TV green screen system for less than $1,000, but you can. But if you don't want to spend anything like that, then just set it up, point at the sofa, sit down on a nice sofa or a nice armchair, and then you can begin to present to the camera. Again, I recommend getting a tripod. The other thing I found very useful is you can get some sort of tripods that are kind of like a short bendable stand, bendy stand, flexible stand if you like, so you can attach a camera to it. And because these cameras, particularly the Kodak one, is very lightweight, you can then wrap that stand around something, you can balance it on something, you can twist it around something, and it will mold into the shape of whatever you're doing with it. So if you don't have room for a tripod, or you don't have a tripod, but you have a table that's in a perfect place for where you want the camera to be, you can simply wrap it around a table leg and angle the camera at the right point. That's probably not a bad example, but you get the kind of idea. You can also get small ones that clamp on. It means that basically the camera will be sturdy, it will look good, it will be a nice straight shot. Once you've done that, I then recommend that you sit down at your chair or your sofa or stand or whatever, and make sure that you get somebody just to double check that you are visible in the camera shot. Ideally, you want someone to stand on the other side of the camera. Of course, you may have a camera that has a flippy screen on it. I know Jonathan has, where you can pull out the screen and turn it round and actually see yourself as you present. If you don't have that, and the Kodak doesn't, then just ask somebody to quickly check to make sure that your head isn't half missing and stuff like that. Alternatively, you can record for a couple of minutes, and then nip round, check it, and then go and sit back down again, which if you're on your own, I'd probably recommend you do anyway. That said, you would then record the entire video if you want to record short 10-minute segments or whatever. Now, to show you how we're going to be incorporating video into the product that we're creating right now, the Simple Quitting System, I'm going to be making 5 short videos, each one less than 5 minutes long, where I will teach different sort of NLP techniques or different psychological techniques to help people battle their cravings with cigarettes. And you'll find out why I'm going to do this in the next section. But really, it's all about adding value to the product. So I'm not just selling a Hypnosis MP3. We're also going to give them some video training, which will show them very special ways. And they're all techniques that you will all probably know, but great ways to use NLP and psychology to battle against.
Well, you'll definitely know if you've studied the stuff in the Elite Hypnosis Bootcamp, because they're all in there somewhere.
Exactly. So I'm just going to record 5 very short videos. It's going to take me less than an hour to do them all, even with the ums, ahs and mistakes in. And then once I've got those videos, that will be it. I'll take those videos and put them onto the computer. Now typically, depending on what kind of camera you've got, this will vary. I know with the Kodak camera, it takes an SD card, which is just a small memory card that most ordinary photo cameras now take. You just take that out, you pop it into your SD reader in your computer. Again, most computers within the last 5 years will have one. Pop it in, you can open the video file, transfer it onto your computer. If you have a different kind of camera, you may have a lead, and you just plug the cable into your camera, plug the cable into your computer, and drag it across that way. You may even be able to get away with recording. Again, it will be lower quality, but right now, this may be good enough for you. You can even get away with recording this on your webcam. If you've got a webcam built into your computer, then when you finish recording, that's already on your computer. Typically, the quality will be lower. It typically means that you will sometimes, and quite regularly I've found with webcam videos, the audio can fall out of sync with the video, which makes it look really, that then pushes it to a point of real unprofessionalism, but it still works, it still gets the point across. But I'd recommend, if it does that, then get a proper camera. So you will
often if it does that with a webcam, when you've got the video file, if you then run it through Windows Movie Maker, the file that's come out, even though you're not needing to convert it or anything because it's already recorded it in the right format, if you literally just import it into Windows Movie Maker and then choose Create Video in Windows Movie Maker, it will go through that whole finish the video off process, and 99% of the time I found it then will have automatically sunk the video and sound back together.
Oh, there you go. I didn't know that, but there you go. So you can do that with a webcam. The other advantage of that, of course, is you can have the bullet points quite easily on your computer screen, just in a Word document, and it's quite easy to sort of casually sit back, think thoughtfully, glance down at the computer, and then go back to the camera. You obviously don't want to stare intently at the camera the whole time because you look a bit psychopathic, unless that's the mood you're going for. And then you can occasionally just glance away, glance down at the computer and go back again, provided you can't see your eyes going back and forth as you read your bullet points. Again, with regards to having your bullet points, maybe you want to stick them on a piece of paper and stick it to the bottom of the tripod, or have an iPad there with your bullet points on. Again, that's how I recommend you do it, so it doesn't look too much like your eyes are nervously glancing down and reading and then going back to the camera. Just casually, be very relaxed, very casual, glance away, glance down, glance back at the camera, and continue. Once you've got your video recorded and you've got it onto your computer, the next step would be to edit the video. Now, with regard to editing the video, typically what I really mean is what I call top and tail the video. In other words, sort out the beginning and sort out the end. So, for example, if you have recorded the video on your own and you have no one there to press the record button, then typically you would press record and then you go and get into position. You would wait for a moment just to make it look natural. You would record your video, you would pause at the end smiling, and then stand up after a few seconds, walk back to the camera and press the stop recording button. Now typically what I would then do is open that in the video editing software, and I would edit off the beginning and the end. so that the video starts with me sat or stood in position, the video ends with me sat or stood in position. There's none of this getting up and turning off the camera again. Now, that's very easy to do. It's actually very similar to working in Audacity with an audio file. You can literally just right-click on the video, and split the clip at the relevant moment and delete the first bit, and then do the same thing at the end. It's called splitting the clip, or clip splitting, if you look for that inside. Again, it's all very easy to do in Windows Movie Maker or iMovie. Now, basically, the alternative to that is if you can beg, borrow, or steal someone for a few minutes and just ask them to press the start button, hang around for 5 minutes, and then press the stop button. That's the other alternative to this. Once you've done all of this, you can then export the video as a MOV file, which is MOV, or an MP4 file. Jonathan will clarify in a moment, but I think if you do this from Windows Movie Maker, it may even come out as a WMV file. But again,
Yes.
Either way, I recommend you convert it to an MP4 file, which again you can do by using free services on the internet or free software off the internet. If you just Google free convert WMV to MP4, there'll be a way to do that. MP4 is the web preferred way of playing video. So you want to try and get it to an MP4 file if you can. It doesn't matter too much, but that's the most watchable file for your customers. The only other thing I wanted to say on this, which I've missed off the bullet point for, is the other advantage of the Kodak PlaySport camera as a camera is not only is it high definition and very cheap, in my opinion, at less than £100. I think that's a really great price for that quality of camera. It also has an external microphone port, so you can actually plug in a lapel microphone and get a really high quality crisp sound. Now, Jonathan mentioned earlier you can do this with a radio mic or something that works via Wi-Fi. I actually do something slightly different. I go low tech. I actually use a microphone which is created by a company called Audio Technica, and it is a wired lapel mic. So literally a wire runs from the lapel mic to the camera, and it's about 20 feet, yeah, about 20 feet long. So you could be stood at like 10 feet in front of the camera, which would still give it 5 feet to travel up to you and 5 feet to travel up to the camera. So you can have the wire running from the lapel mic, which is clipped to your shirt or your top or whatever, running down the inside of your clothes, down your trouser leg, not through your trousers, but down your trouser leg, past your foot, all the way along the floor, because obviously the floor is not going to be featured in the video, all the way along the floor, up the side of the tripod and into the side of the camera. And that's a really good, efficient way. And that microphone was about $20 or $30 or something, and it records at massively high quality. So if you actually if you recorded your video without a lapel mic and recorded it with a lapel mic, the difference would be, obviously, if you're using the camera's inbuilt microphone, then it's also going to be picking up the atmosphere, the air, and everything in between. Whereas if you're just using a lapel mic, it's only going to pick up the what's around it and pretty much your voice, because your voice is just a few inches away from that microphone. So I recommend that you do that. Again, the one that I use is called the Audio Technica NT1-A. I'll put a link to it in the members area, but it's the Audio Technica NT1-A, and I think it was $20 or $30, but for $30 it adds an incredible extra feel to it, and it means you don't have to faff around with radio mics and all the rest of it. So that's my only real last point on video products. Effectively, you just need to think of a reason for having a video product. What is your video product going to teach? You then need to work out what people want to learn as a result of your video products. You then need to map out the bullet points for it, set up your camera in a nice, light, airy area of your house where you're not going to be disturbed, set it up, record, and then top and tail it. That's pretty much going to be the minimal editing you'll want to do. Chances are you won't be editing out the ums and ahs. You just need to try and keep those to a minimum, because obviously if you're recording, if you edit out the ums and the ahs, you're going to be jumping like hell, because obviously it's not you're going to be chopping out bits of your video, and it makes it look a bit more natural. So that's pretty much it from my perspective on video products. The only other thing I would say is that if you wanted to, you can also make different types of video products. For example, a slide or a PowerPoint video. So for example, these webinars are put together in Keynote, which is the Apple version of PowerPoint, but you could do this in PowerPoint. You open Microsoft PowerPoint. As it happens, OpenOffice, which I mentioned before, also comes with something called OpenOffice Impress. So like OpenOffice itself is a direct rip-off of Microsoft Word, or an open source version of Microsoft Word. Impress is an open source version of PowerPoint, and it's completely free. And again, at a glance, most people would think you were using PowerPoint. So again, you could make slides in PowerPoint. So just like I've made these slides, I've got all the bullet points out there, and then I'm elaborating on each of the bullet points as I go. And you can use a piece of software called Camtasia, that's C-A-M-T-A-S-I-A, which allows you to record your computer screen, which is how I'm recording this webinar right now as it happens, and record a microphone as well. So you could plug in your microphone. I mentioned the Yeti microphone by Blue, although for this purpose you could even just use a cheap $10, $20 headset microphone. Plug that in. You can record your screen and then just present your way through the PowerPoint, just like I'm talking you through this webinar presentation right now. And what you would end up with is a video where you can teach theoretical things like this by using PowerPoint and bullet points and that kind of thing. So again, that's pretty much all I wanted to cover on video products. And with that said, I'll hand you across to Jonathan to get his perspective on video products, because he's made far more of them than I have.
I think, to be honest, I already mentioned before you started stuff regarding video. The only other couple of things that have occurred to me is the camera I use is immaterial because they don't make it anymore. It was just a Sony Handycam digital hard drive camcorder that ultimately you plug the lead into and then plugged into the USB of your computer after recording, and it recognised it as being like an external hard drive, and you just dragged and dropped the file over, and it already recorded it in MP4. It already recorded it basically in the format you want, so there was no conversion to do, which is the case with any of the Sony digital hard drive cameras they've got out now, but they do cost in the rounds of about 200 quid. So what just occurred to me to say is, Donna's book, have you by any chance worked out a beginning budget for how much investment we will need for startup for all the equipment and services you were suggesting? The honest answer to that is your total budget up front is nothing. You don't need a budget. Start out, I'm a believer in reinvesting some of your profits as you go along. You know, your computer you can download off the internet, and you must be on the internet because you're on this webinar. You can download free software for audio recording. So you can record with the built-in mic. That'd be terrible, but you could do, or just go and buy a very cheap mic for your laptop. You can record your audio on your laptop that way at next to no cost. You can type the ebook yourself and get free software to convert it to PDF. Again, nothing, no cost, just a bit of time. Video-wise, initially, if you wanted to put a little bonus video with it, you could do that with your built-in webcam. If you've not got a built-in webcam, you can pick them up for like $10, $15 that are passable. This won't be the world's greatest high-quality looking product, but it's not as important that as long as the content is there that delivers what your advert and website, and that's what next week's about, the advert and the sales page, what it claims. You know, the majority of my seminar videos have been filmed without any radio mics being used, without any mics, with the built-in mic on the camera. Often there's echo in the room. Sometimes it's hard and difficult to concentrate and listen to what I'm saying. And, you know, occasionally people will email saying that, and when they do, I just say, well, you've got two choices: refund, and you get blocked from watching the rest of the videos, or option B, actually concentrate and pay attention. And I turn it to a positive and go, you know, by having to pay more attention, you will actually take it in better. And, you know, 99.9% of the time recurring, you know, it's probably like one refund in 1,000 due to people going, oh, the video quality wasn't very good. And the reason the refund rate is so low is because nobody can deny that I always provide a video product that teaches exactly what the advert says it will, but also at least half a dozen or more things that weren't included in the advert. That's more of a tip for next week. You know, if you can then add in stuff that wasn't in the advert, then when they buy it on the basis of the advert and they learn what they were promised, but also learn more as well, then they feel so good about having learnt more that, you know, sound quality or the picture being unsteady can easily be forgiven, because what you're selling is information and results. That's when you're getting started. You know, then you can use an element of the profits you've made from your first campaign to purchase the nice microphone, to purchase the nice recording equipment and such like, to bring things, as I'm finally getting persuaded to do by Rob, more into the 21st century. So, you know, you don't need a budget. If you've got a laptop and you've got access to maybe $30, $40 so you can get a headset mic and also purchase a webcam if you haven't got one, there is no reason why you can't have an ebook, an audio product and a video within the space of a week. That's, you know, and pretty much all the seminar products I, you know, have out there. It's literally I press the camera recording before I walk to the front of the room at the start of the section, and then when we go on the coffee break, I walk up to the camera and switch it off. I don't even bother editing those bits off, because at the end of the day I know people are buying the information. They might look at it and go, oh, that's a bit ugly, why have we got to see him going to turn the camera off? But at the end of the day, as long as the information is there that the people have been promised, and generally speaking, there's always more than I've promised, because I never put everything that's on the videos into the adverts, so that then when they get the product, there's always more in it than they saw on the ad. Then it is possible to run a multi-million-dollar business without radio mics, without editing, and without professional quality videos. I know, because I've done it for practically the past 2 decades. So do not be scared about getting started. It's those kind of things that often scare people off, or they use as an excuse not to release something yet, because, oh, I want it to look perfect and sound perfect. No, if it's got some quality content in, then all right, you may have to charge slightly less for it than you could if it looked TV quality, but at least you'll have a campaign out there bringing in you in money, and then you can use a percentage of that money to reinvest into future projects. The key is to get started, and I think that's what the real message that I want to get across to you there. I've not really got anything else to add, to be honest, because you've explained it so well, Rob.
Good, glad to hear it. Okay, cool. So yeah, I mean, Jonathan pretty much, I saw Donna's question, Jonathan pretty much answered it on the money. You can make, you know, for realistically less than $50 or less than $30, you can really get started. You'll notice throughout this webinar, and obviously you can watch back the recording.
Oh, sorry, I'll just interject. I remember one thing I was going to say. Yeah. Rob said you can also make videos with slides. Well, there's 15 ready-made PowerPoint slide presentations for 1- and 2-day training events in the Elite Hypnosis Bootcamp. Okay, so you could actually use them that are already there, have those slides on screen. You'd have to look through them first and perhaps read the books that are recommended on the videos in the bootcamp, so you've got some additional knowledge, so that when you see the bullet points on screen, you're not just reading what's on screen. You can also add some extra insight and knowledge as well. But using the Become an Expert by Reading 6 Books tactic that I mentioned earlier, and you no doubt will hear me go into a little bit more depth about if you watch the Holy Grail of Hypnotherapy videos that are on the Elite Hypnosis Bootcamp. I fully explain the how to buy 6 books from Amazon and become a leading authority, getting paid £10,000 to speak on that subject for a day for a company. I give you actual examples of how I've done that and how you can too. You can get the 6 books on the relevant subject matter that you've already got the slideshow for, ready-made in the bootcamp. Use that to make your video, and hey presto, you've got products there practically ready-made for you, albeit the video and audio haven't been recorded yet, but the slides are there for, you know, sales skills, customer service, all different niche topics for businesses that want recorded. You could sell them the audio and the video and the PowerPoints if they wanted their head of resources to use them for training their staff. So yeah, I just thought I'd throw that in. Sorry, Rob.
No, that's fine. Brilliant. So yeah, so as Jonathan mentioned, you can do all of this very cheap. You'll notice throughout this presentation, the software I've typically recommended is always the one that's free. So Microsoft Word, if you've got it, Microsoft PowerPoint, if you've got it, if not, OpenOffice. In fact, in some ways, OpenOffice is, in my opinion, more efficient than the Microsoft equivalent, and it's free. Windows Movie Maker comes with any PC that you buy nowadays. iMovie will come with a Mac when you buy that. So again, all the software is free, and then just very cheap equipment. Again, if you have no money, if you can't afford £100 to buy the Blue Yeti microphone that I recommend, buy one for $10. It will do, and then when you've made some money back, you can buy another one and remake the product, or just.
I'll go to the equivalent of Argos. Okay. In England, we have a shop called Argos. It's a catalogue shop. I'm sure there's equivalents elsewhere, and their policy is that you have a 14 days. No quibble refund guarantee on any product. So you literally can, if you're cheeky, go and purchase on your credit card a video camera or a microphone, record your product, and then take it back and say it's not what you want and get the refund back on your credit card. So you've got like a totally free rental out of it. I couldn't possibly say that I ever did that regularly in the early years, but I did. So there you go.
There you go then. So that's it for video products. So we've now talked about ebooks, we've talked about audio products, and we've talked about video products, which brings us to the final kind of section of this, I should say number 4, which is combo products. Okay, so what I'm talking about here is combining different types of products. So what are we talking about? Well, basically, I am referring to making a product which is a package of everything we've talked about. So an audio, videos, ebooks, all mixed into one product. Now, obviously, if you were to go and look on the internet and buy a very expensive, several £1,000 home study, say, business development program or sales program or anything like that, you will quite regularly find that what you get through the post is a binder with 8 DVDs and 12 CDs and 22 workbooks and all this other stuff. So what we can do is we can make a downloadable version of that which consists of lots of different things. Now what this will do is it will, well, first of all, as I put there, this is very easy.
Can we just clarify there that binder that you get and all these audio CDs and all the DVDs, invariably when you look at them, the DVDs are of a live seminar like I talked about before. The CDs are just the audio from the DVDs, so you can listen to them while driving, as they always put in the ads. And what's in the binder is just what somebody's typed, transcribed from the audios for reading purposes. But it looks mega impressive because you get a big package through the post. But ultimately, it's exactly what we've been talking about.
Exactly. So the other thing is, of course, from our perspective, that this is very easy to do because different aspects of your products will be best taught in different ways. So, for example, you can't give somebody a hypnotherapy, well, you can, but you shouldn't give someone a hypnotherapy session which is delivered via book because they're not going to be able to, you know, they'd have to, the pitch there would have to be you could record your own voice doing this hypnotherapy session and listen back to it, which some people sell. I wouldn't, but some people sell it. But the truth is, typically, that's not going to work as a book. But at the same time, it would be very difficult to teach, for example, to teach some of the NLP techniques via, which require physical, so, you know, EFT and various other things that involve physical actions, can be harder to teach on paper than on video. So there are different media are better for teaching different things. So for example, I'm going to show you how we're going to do this in the simple quitting system, which is the smoking product we're going to create over the next few weeks. Is they're going to get a number of things. They're going to get part 1 will be the audio hypnotherapy MP3. So that's the audio hypnosis program. The second part is they're going to get an ebook which talks all about why you shouldn't smoke, what smoking really does to you, the effects it has on your mind and on your body when you're smoking, the effects it has on your mind and body when you quit, and that will be written using the exact techniques discussed in the ebook section. I've mind mapped it, I'm going to break each step down and then write and fill in all of the sections, and we'll write something like a 50-page ebook from it. The third section will
unless we end up feeling lazy when we've done some of the other stuff, in which case we might use techniques that are in the 4-hour work week we go to elance.com and tell somebody, look, here's our chapter headings that we put out, our bullet points. We want X number of words or pages on each of those subject matters to make it into a book, and literally pay someone to go write it for next to nothing.
Yeah, so if we want to, we can actually outsource it and have it written by a ghostwriter. We'll discuss it this week and decide what we want to do. We're then going to put together some worksheets. Well, these are going to be some hypnosis-related worksheets that will help people to, for example, we'll have one which is a calendar, and we recommend that people listen to the MP3 once every other day for 28 days. So we're going to give them their hypnosis session calendar that they can put on their fridge, and they can mark off every other day, because it is quite difficult to track what every other day is, and they can just put a little cross on every other day. Just things that make the thing look a bit more valuable. Some worksheets about they can work out every time they don't buy a packet of cigarettes, they can mark up how much money they've saved, and at the end of the month they can work out how much money they've saved and what they could buy with that money, etc. Now, whether people will use these things or not is completely irrelevant. I hope they would, but they can't guarantee it. But it does make the thing look a bit more valuable. So probably a 10-page PDF of worksheets. And then the fourth part will be a number of video training, as I mentioned earlier, 5 short videos where I'll teach 5 basic NLP techniques, such as EFT and the elastic band around the wrist thing, in order to help, which again, you'll learn all of that if you look at Elite Hypnosis Bootcamp. But all of these simple NLP techniques that will help people to beat the cravings once they have quit smoking with your system. So not only how to quit smoking, but also how to stay off the cigarettes too. So with all of that said, what that means is that we've then got an audio MP3, we've got 2 PDFs, one is a book and one is a pack of worksheets. So it's all downloadable, it's still just one PDF document, but it sounds good, and 5 videos that will teach different things. So basically what we've ended up with, and in truth actually with hypnotherapy, if you really wanted to not be lazy, you could record 6 different hypnosis MP3s that all basically achieve the same thing, but achieve different elements of it. I've seen this. People who've made stop smoking products, but instead of having one audio MP3, they have one which is all about, and I'm going to make this up, but one that's all about the actual quitting process, one which is all about beating cravings and beating addiction, one which is all about making sure you don't gain weight when you've given up smoking, one which is all about the new you and visualizing yourself without yellow teeth and without the funny skin and all the rest of it. And they have all these different all of these different audios. Instead of getting one audio that does it all, you get 5 that waste a load of time. But effectively, again, if they're getting 5 MP3s, I wouldn't do it because it takes too much work. But if they're getting 5 MP3s, and then you can give them some complicated plan they have to follow in order to use these MP3s in conjunction with each other, again, that is perceivably more valuable than if it was just one MP3 or one ebook. So, for example, if your product had 5 audios, 3 ebooks, and 4 video training modules, that would perceivably be more valuable and arguably more effective than a simple ebook or an audio product. In people's heads, if there's all this ritual and all this process and they have to follow this exact system and go through all the audios and read all the books and study all the video training, whether they ever actually do it or not is irrelevant. It would be arguably more effective because in their mind they'd convince themselves, oh my God, look, all this stuff, this must be good. So obviously you might not want to put that much work into it. You probably won't for your first product. I just wanted to explain this in order to cover all of the bases, all of the possibilities. But you'll see for the product that we're going to create, which ultimately you will all end up with complete resale rights on, so that the smoking product we're making, you actually will get to take away and sell yourself for money. We're going to have 1 MP3, 2 PDFs, and 5 videos, and that's what they're going to get. So hopefully you can see by combining products in this manner, you can really heavily increase the value of the product that you're selling, or rather perceived value, because value is perception entirely. So that's it. All I wanted to say on combining products. Oh, one other thing is that I basically never make a product unless I can repurpose it in another manner. And this is what Jonathan's already touched on much earlier in the call. About every product I make, whether it starts off as an audio product, a video product, or a PDF, will at some point become the other two. So if I write an ebook, I will at some point record it into an MP3 and turn that into a video, maybe by attaching slides to it. In another context, if I record a video, I will have that transcribed and rip the audio off it too. And the other one would be, if I had an audio made, I would have it transcribed and turn it into a video. So whichever one you start off with, you can record, you can make it into the other two. So you can end up with 3 versions of the same product for different purposes and things. So that's the other thing. I only ever make content that can be repurposed, repackaged, and used for something else. So that's the kind of all I wanted to say on combining products. I don't know if Jonathan's got anything to add to that.
No, I think with what I said earlier and what you've just said, that's pretty self-explanatory, the logic behind it.
Okay, which means that that brings us to final thoughts. Yes, we're at the end, the conclusion of this module today. I thought it would be a short one, but it has still taken 2 hours and 20 minutes or half an hour or something. So with that said, let's wrap up the main presentation, and then we can get to answering questions and brainstorming your ideas. So by the end of this module, you should have decided on what type, or types I should say, not products, what type or what types of product you're going to create for your first campaign. So in our case, it's going to be an audio, it's going to be 2 PDFs and some videos. You might just wish to keep it as a simple audio file. That's absolutely fine. There is nothing wrong with that. You might want to make it just video training or just an ebook. Again, that's absolutely fine. Or you might want to make it a combination of the above. It's just down to you to look at what your customer's end goal is and work out what the best way to actually get them there is. Once you've done that, you will be then ready to begin actually making the product using the techniques that I've outlined in this module. So whether that's an ebook or a video or an audio, we've talked you through the entire process.
If you type
typing. Oh, I'm not.
There's like banging noise, like typing.
Does that sound any better?
That noise, whatever it was then, is what I kept hearing, yeah.
Has it gone now, or is it all right?
It's now gone.
All right, I was leaning on the desk, so it could have been that it was making a rattle or something that I couldn't hear, but the laptop was picking up or anything. Anyway,
right, okay.
So once you've done that and you've decided what type or types of products you want to use, you can then actually make the product using all the techniques we've talked about in this module, whether that's an ebook, an audio, a video, or a combination of the above. And you have basically an entire week to do that before the next module. Now, as I mentioned, we are now, it's now 20 to 1 on Monday morning here in the UK, and by 20 to 1 tomorrow morning, in other words by midnight tonight, I will have all of Module 1 and all of Module 2 inside the members area for you. That is a promise. So within the next 24 hours, all of Module 1 and the associated videos, and all of Module 2 and the associated, there aren't any, all of that with all the links and resources will be inside the members area for you. If you don't have your account right now, I know about it. Donna is one of them, and Steve is another. You will have your account set up within the next 24 hours, I promise. I will then email everybody, even if I've done it already, I will email you again to clarify that you've got your login details. So if you don't already, don't worry, you will within 24 hours, and all of the training so far will be there too. That gives you an entire week to get everything caught up. And in the next module, which is going to be on Sunday the 19th, yep, Sunday the 19th of August 2012, we're going to be talking about building the sales funnel for your actual product. That's the website, what I like to call the machine, which will actually sell your website. It's just a series of very simple web pages that will sell your product and deliver it to the customer on complete autopilot.
In terms of the webinar we've just done tonight, Module 2, when the stuff's in the members area by tomorrow, you may also wish to look on the Elite Hypnosis Bootcamp download page and look for the Making Money from Hypnosis or Marketing for Hypnosis section. There's 2 audio recordings which are Making Money from Selling Hypnosis Products Part 1 and Part 2, which talk about product creation and stuff, and go into all the different kinds of things we've talked about tonight. And also, if you look at the very bottom of the download page for the Elite Hypnosis Bootcamp, there are, where it says the webinars, Elite Hypnosis Bootcamp webinars. Well, webinar number 4 is actually doesn't exist as such. It's, I think it's number 4. Rather, instead, it's a link to a private YouTube video that is totally on the subject of product creation and marketing, relevant to what we've talked about tonight. You may also like to have a look at. before we go to next week's subject of how to actually start selling the product.
Cool. So just talking about, so that's the end of the official presentation. As I said, within 24 hours you will all have an account with a username and a password, and you will all have access to Module 1 and Module 2. Donna says, is it possible to give us the slides of the next class before the class so we can print them off and take notes on the topics on those pages as you speak? Unless Jonathan can see any particular reason why not, I can't see that being too much of an issue.
Well, that's entirely up to you, Rob. My instinctive answer would have been no, because we're lazy and they probably won't even be booked together until the night before, being totally honest.
My major problem is that if you've read ahead, you will get distracted rather than focusing on what I'm talking about there and then. If you want them, I don't mind giving them to you, but you will only get them the day before, because in order to keep it as up to date as possible, and because I'm lazy, I typically will make the webinar. So I made this webinar yesterday. On Saturday, I'll make Sunday's webinar. That way, it means that everything. I haven't made all of these in advance because things may get thrown at us. You may need help with extra areas, so I wanted to make them as and when we go. Hopefully, that makes sense. Cool. So to answer questions, if you've got any questions, go ahead and type them into the questions box. Before we do, we had one from Donna earlier, so I thought I'd just address that now. I've literally made this while Jonathan was just talking. Rather than
you were typing then. You were typing, you liar.
No, I made this about an hour ago when you were talking.
All right, okay.
And I muted my microphone.
All right.
This is, Donna said, can you show us an example of a mind map? So what I want you to do is imagine I'm writing a book. And I am. But imagine I'm writing a book, and what I did before I write all of my books is I make a mind map like this. Now again, I recommend a website called MindMeister. Their basic account is free. You can pay and get a fancier version with more mind maps and things, but ultimately you can use, this is a free version of MindMeister. I'm not paying for this service at all. So what I've done is I've made a mind map, and you just click New Mind Map, and this is all, by the way, on my web browser. So this software, if you look, I'm running this in Firefox. This is actually happening. You can do it in Internet Explorer or anything you want. It's just running in my web browser. And what I've got is I've made a mind map. So what I've done is you start off with the middle section of a mind map where I've just put your ebook name or your product name. So this is where you just type the name of your product, the title of your book. Okay, so that's the central bit. Then what you would do is you would make all of these branches off it. Hopefully you can see what I'm talking about here. You make all of these branches off it so that you can see one's called Introduction, one's called Chapter 1 title, one's called Chapter 2 title, Chapter 3 title, Chapter 4 title, Chapter 5 title, Chapter 6 title, Chapter 7 title, and Conclusion. Now obviously you may have 20 titles, 20 chapters, you might only have 6 chapters, 4 chapters, whatever. But the point is you would break down all of the steps that make up the process that you need to teach in this book, and then give each one of those one of the nodes that comes off the central section of the mind map. Once you've done that, and again, each of these, where it says Chapter 1 title, you would actually put the title of that chapter. Where it says Chapter 2 title, you would put the title of that chapter, Chapter 3, and so on. So then what you would do is you would have extra nodes. If I expand this, you'll see I've got one called Section 1 title, Section 2 title, and Section 3 title. So these would be kind of sub-sections or sort of areas or sub-elements, I guess, of the original section. So, for example, I might have one called About Robert. I might have one called Where This Book Came From. You know, these are crap, but you get the point. You might have one. So again, you're just dividing up each of the chapters into sections. So you can see I've actually got one of these for each of the chapters. Now obviously some of the chapters, they're upside down for some reason. Some of the chapters would have 10 sections. Some of the chapters might not have any sections. They might just be a chapter that's all text. But then what I've done is broken it down even further, because these sections then would all have a list of major bullet points, the major points that you want to get across. So I'll just expand a few of these and you'll see what I'm talking about. So you can see all of the chapters have multiple sections and all of the sections have multiple bullet points. And what it means is that when I then sit down to OpenOffice or Microsoft Word and begin to write this book, I actually have most of the work done for me in a very visual and easy to understand manner. It means that all of the information isn't just in my head and has to then be regurgitated onto the page, but it's organized in a very neat fashion. So the bullet points, sorry, the slides for the webinar that we've had tonight, all about product creation, started out live as a mind map just like this. I said, right, what do I need to teach in this presentation? I broke it down into individual sections, and they made up the individual the individual sections. Then I put what slides are going to be in each of those individual sections, and then I made the bullet points that were going to be on each of those slides. So again, it works if you're making a video product too. It works if you're making an audio training product. It works if you're making an ebook. And literally everything that I do in my business now, I mind map before I turn it into an actual product. So again, the website I recommend for this is called mindmeister.com. It's free to join. It's free to use their kind of basic account. If you want to upgrade, you can. It's like $20 a month or something. They have a free iPad app as well, which is available for iPad and iPhone. And basically, if you make a mind map on the computer, it will automatically be available on the iPad, provided your iPad is connected to the internet. If you make it on your iPad or on your iPhone, it will automatically be available on your computer version as well, where you log into MindMeister. The other one is, if you are using an iPad, the other one I really like is an iPad app called iThoughts HD. Again, that's another piece of really good mind mapping software, and I use a combination of the two. So that's my short take on mind mapping. If you want to learn more about mind mapping, read anything by Tony Buzan, Tonybuzan, and his books are brilliant overviews of in-depth mind mapping strategies for all sorts of areas of life. So that's a very basic example of how I use mind maps in order to plan out a product. But apart from that, if you want to use them for other purposes, read Tony Buzan's books, any of them, or all of them. So hopefully that makes sense in terms of using mind maps, and you can see the benefit of doing that, I think. You can see the benefit of doing that over just writing blind with no particular direction in sight. Hopefully that makes sense. With that answered, if you have any other questions, now would be the perfect opportunity for you to go ahead and ask those questions. Again, you can type them into the questions box, or alternatively, you can, if you've got a little microphone and you wanted to talk to us, you can, more than welcome to, but go ahead and ask any questions you may have, and we'll do our best to answer them. Right now there are no questions. If you have no questions, if you could type no questions, that would be really helpful, because then we know we're not waiting on people thinking of questions.
That's a good point, yeah.
No questions, no questions, no questions, no questions. Good. Now that's a good sign, because that means we've taught stuff well.
No questions, no questions, no questions.
Everybody's pretty much saying no questions. Cool. I'm going to take that as read then, that there are no questions. Of course, if you wanted to talk specifically about your ideas rather than just general product creation strategies, if you've got something specific and you want to say, what's the best way for me to teach this, what's the best way for me to make this point, and again, feel free to type that. If not, then we are pretty much ready to wrap up this this call tonight. Oh, Donna, just a comment. I've thought of several brilliant names that I want to register, but unfortunately others thought of them before me and have already registered them. Yeah, that is a pain. Sometimes it happened already. If those websites have been bought but nobody's using them, so when you go there it's just a blank page, then you may be able to buy that domain name off them. But it could, as we talked about in last week, so go back and watch the recording of last week, we talked about finding out who owns a domain and buying it from them, but it can get very expensive. As I mentioned, somebody I know's just bought a domain name for, I think it was $5,000 or $6,000. So you can be charged hundreds of dollars or even thousands of dollars for a domain. The domain name sex.com recently sold for something like $6 million. So it shows you if you buy a domain name and then sell it, you can make a lot of money. So yeah, so if somebody's got them and they're actually using them, then you unfortunately you're stuffed. You've just got to come up with something else. If you've thought of a name, someone's bought it but isn't using it, and it's just a blank holding page, or some websites will even say this domain is for sale, click here to contact us, and then you have to go and put a bid in for the domain name, and if it's somewhere close to what they want, they could either accept it or negotiate it. So again, if it's in use, you're screwed. If not, you can go and try and buy it from them, or think of something else. Thank you for your comment though, Donna. Anybody else? Keith says, as ever, very comprehensive. Keith, with regard to the hosting, again, it won't be tomorrow now, but on Tuesday I will talk to you. In fact, I'm even going to see Keith on Tuesday, but apart from that, I will talk to you about that on Tuesday. Again, if anyone has bought their domain name but doesn't have hosting and wants to use ours, get in touch and we will set that up for you very easily. If nobody else has any questions... Oh, hang on, Donna has a question. She's typed the word question, so I know she's got a question, and now I'm waiting for that. So in the meantime, I will fill in some time and have a quick drink. Donna must be furiously typing away now in enormous speed in order to try and get the question in as quickly as possible. Again, folks, if anyone else has a question, now would be the time to ask it. Although, again, as we mentioned, there is a discussion section inside the members area where you can all chat. Donna says, the domain name we're looking to register, is it a product for our first campaign or for a website for all of our future products? The domain name you want to buy is for your product specifically. So in our case, the product we're making is called the Simple Quitting System. The domain name you'll want to buy is, well, the domain name I've bought is simplequittingsystem.com. If your product was called How to Lose Weight, you would buy howtoloseweight.com, which you won't be able to get, but you get the idea. So you're going to buy the product name.com. We're going to have a separate website selling each of your products individually. Does that make sense?
And just because it's a blatant plug as well as another example, I'm very shortly doing a hypnosis training in Sacramento, which is in California, by the way, but it's a hypnosis training in Sacramento, so I bought the domain name Sacramento Hypnosis Training, which was bizarre, because I honestly thought one of the hypnosis training institutes that were already in Sacramento would have had that domain name, but the silly idiots hadn't, so I bought every version of it.
So if that is all questions answered, we are about to wrap up. The only final comment I would like to make is that in the UK right now, and therefore in Australia and anywhere east of us, it is now Monday the 13th of August, which means we can wish a very happy birthday to my co-host, the co-founder of Elite Hypnosis Bootcamp, Dr. Jonathan Royle. So I'm sure everybody's singing happy birthday in their own home. I'm not going to sing it for you. But very happy birthday.
You do disappoint me.
37.
Yeah, 37.
Bloody hell. To say happy birthday.
Thank you for the birthday wishes, and thank you for the comment that I won't say out loudly, but yes, indeed, you know who you are. We just put the comment up. Fire an email to support@elitehypnosisbootcamp.com, and I'm sure we can come to a mutually profitable deal to sort a seminar out in your area of the world. Thank you very much indeed, everyone. It's all popping up here. Happy birthday. Have a beer. Yeah, good man. Do indeed have a beer. Yes, you do right. I'm on non-alcoholic now because I haven't drunk for 9 months, something like that now. So thank you very much indeed, everyone. As Rob said, everything will be in the members area by tomorrow night, so you can re-look at last week's and this week's recordings and the additional videos and stuff. And yeah, 10 o'clock UK time, which Rob will remind us what that is in the other times in a minute. This Sunday, the 19th of August, we will join you again for Module 3, which is that step closer to having... Sorry, I've just read it. Hypnotise yourself to think you're 29. Oh, I'm good, Raymond, but I'm not that good. Yeah, we'll be back here on Sunday, the 19th of August, this Sunday at 10 o'clock UK time, which is, what time is that elsewhere, Rob?
It's 5 p.m. in Eastern Daylight Time, which is New York time. 10 p.m. in the UK. Obviously, if you're in Europe, you're going to be a couple of hours ahead of us, depending on whereabouts in Europe. But you'll all know British time if you're in Europe. People in Australia, well, it depends what side of Australia you're on. But anyway, the main ones are in the UK, it will be 5 p.m. In New York, it will be, sorry, in the UK, it will be 10 p.m. In New York, it will be 5 p.m. And in Vegas, in the Pacific side, it will be 3 hours earlier than that. It will be 2 p.m.
And just before we sign up, are the remaining of our webinars to be on Sunday? Not necessarily. We're just definitely doing this next one on Sunday. But then we may, well, then there'll be a lot of homework, so it probably will be a Sunday or possibly the Monday after that. Because when we did the survey, it was sort of roughly half and half, people saying Sunday would be better for them and about half saying Monday would be better. So we are going to sort of try and alternate them so that, you know, people who can't necessarily make some make the others live, as well as obviously being able to get access in the members area. How many webinars are left? Don't know the answer to that, don't I? I know Rob.
Theoretically, there's another 4 that are planned and structured in terms of content to teach. So we've done 2. There are another 4 to come. If, as we're going through, it feels that people are being like not left behind, but people need a little extra help with certain things, then obviously there may be a couple of extras thrown in randomly as we go. But obviously you'll be notified of all of those within the next 2 or 3 days. I'll send you another message that says with the link to the next webinar.
It's more than the beta class, Donishes, but love being in the beta class. It's not just the beta class, it's beyond that, because these actual recordings will. So yeah, it's sort of beta because you guys and girls are going to go out there and start raking the money in, and when you have done, you know, a couple of months down the line, we're sure you'll be so delighted in the extra income you're making that you'll be more than delighted, as we said right at the start, to give us some kind of testimonial to say, you know, if you do this, it does work. But actually these recordings genuinely will also be what forms the basis of at least $1,000, if not more, like $3,000, $4,000 or $5,000 program that we will market it in exactly the way we're going to be teaching you in the webinars. And so as you can see, actually by doing these webinars, we are actually also not just teaching you, but we're practicing what we're preaching at the same time. So thank you very much, everyone. I'm going to say good night to you all so I can go downstairs and see if I can manage to prize birthday cards out of my better half's hands, although she'll probably make me wait until the morning when my young daughter gets up as well so that she can join in the fun.
There you go. All right, folks, Donna says she's so happy she signed up for this course. Hopefully everybody else is as well. Don't forget, all of the webinars and all of the accounts will all be set up within 24 hours of now. So if you don't currently have a website, if you don't currently have an account set up, or you don't have a username or a password, you will have one within 24 hours. Buck says he's very happy